This week at NASA.
Atlantis, Houston on the big loop. The teams have been pulled in concurrence. You are go for docking.
Atlantis on the big loop, copies. Go for docking.
This docking of orbiter Atlantis to the International Space Station is among the many milestones of STS-135, the final mission of the Space Shuttle program.
Good to be home on station.
Commander Chris Ferguson, pilot Doug Hurley, and mission specialists Sandy Magnus and Rex Walhaus were welcomed by the 6 Expedition 28 crew members. They've delivered to the complex the Raffaello multi-purpose logistics module, filled with a full year's worth of supplies for the station. With their mission extended from 12 to 13 days, Atlantis' 4 crew members are now scheduled to make their first landing attempt at the Kennedy Space Center this Thursday. It'll mark the end of more than 30 years of countless contributions by the Space Shuttle, and the beginning of a new era of human space exploration by NASA beyond low Earth orbit.
Die Mannschaft auf der internationalen Raumstation ISS hat einen Anruf von US-Präsident Obama bekommen.
Well, this is President Obama. Who am I talking to?
In dem Telefonat lobte Obama die 10 Raumfahrer für ihren Einsatz im Weltall. Außerdem sagte er, das Ende der Shuttle-Ära bedeute nicht das Aus für die bemannte Raumfahrt der USA. Die 4 Astronauten der Raumfähre Atlantis sollen Donnerstag zurück auf die Erde fliegen. Danach kommt die Raumfähre ins Museum.
Good morning, Atlantis. This is Beyonce. Sandy, Chris, Doug, and Rex, you inspire all of us to dare to live our dreams, to know that we're smart enough and strong enough to achieve them. This song is especially for my girl Sandy and all the women who've taken us to space with them, and the girls who are our future explorers.
And good morning, Houston, and a big thanks to Beyonce for taking some time out of her schedule to record us a greeting. And we're ready for another day here in Atlantis. And hopefully we as a team at NASA can keep our inspirational work up for the young people of America.
The singer's voice started flight day 9 for the crew of the Space Shuttle Atlantis. That's Beyonce. The astronauts are set to pick up items from the International Space Station before getting a bit of time off.
And good morning, Atlantis from Houston. We're ready with you for another great day. While I have you, I have the same words I've given you on other days. The execute package is on board and printing. Your go to change out both image cards in the KFX machine. Your go for Outlook, and have a great day. Thanks, Shanna. It's great to hear your voice, as always. And it's great to hear you, Sandy.
Capcom Shannon Lucid there talking with mission specialist Sandy Magnus following today's 10:29 p.m. wake-up song, Run the World Girls, by Beyonce Knowles, with a special message from Beyonce, again wishing the shuttle crew good mission and thanking them for their work inspiring children and in particular young women.
The complex moving into an orbital sunset. The 10 crew members aboard the shuttle station complex emerging from their post-sleep activities, about to begin their daily work as the number of days they have docked together begin to dwindle to a precious few. The name of the game once again today will be transfer work. Sandy Magnus, Atlantis' loadmaster, leading the way as the cargo continues to logistics module to the International Space Station for its stockpiling over the next year, and items no longer needed on the station moving back into the module for the trip back to Earth. On board the shuttle station complex, a variety of work has been ongoing. Ron Guerin will now engage in some of the transfer work, as you can see there, as he continues to stow items to be brought back on the Raffaello multi-purpose logistics module. Rex Walheim, Atlantis mission specialist, along with Mike Fossum in the Quest airlock. The two crew members scavenging some of the equipment, spacewalking gear from the Quest airlock that will be utilized by Russian cosmonauts Alexander Samokhutyaev and Sergei Volkov for a 6-hour spacewalk outside of the Pirs docking compartment on August 3rd. A 6-hour spacewalk to continue the exterior outfitting of the Russian segment of the International Space Station. This Flight Day 9 is literally the bonus day that was added to this mission by the mission management team earlier in the week as a result of the ability of Atlantis to have generated enough cryogenic oxygen and hydrogen for its power-producing fuel cells to gain a bonus day on orbit. The day will be well spent. This is a critical day of transfer activity for Atlantis' astronauts as they continue to move the better part of 5 tons of supplies from the Raffaello multi-purpose logistics module over to the International Space Station to stockpile the station for the next 12 months or so. Just as they were operating it this past Monday to install the module for the beginning of transfer operations, Raffaello will be loaded up over the weekend. Its hatch will finally be closed late in the day on Sunday, and the stage will be set for it to be demated from Harmony and placed back into the cargo bay of Atlantis on Monday in advance of Atlantis' undocking from the International Space Station, which is scheduled for Tuesday morning at 1:28 a.m. Central Time, 2:28 a.m. Eastern Time, the final undocking of a space shuttle from the International Space Station to complete the 37th and final visit of a space shuttle to the International Outpost. This video shot by Satoshi Furukawa this morning of the cramped conditions in the permanent multi-purpose module, formerly known as Leonardo, which was delivered to the International Space Station on the STS-135 mission a few months ago. The PMM, as it is called, is berthed to the Earth-facing side of the Unity connecting node, which links the U.S. and Russian segments of the International Space Station to one another. The PMM, designed as a storage closet and a logistics depot, is now almost crammed to the brim. You heard Sandy Magnus refer to that during one of her interviews yesterday with the news media. There are a variety of bags containing logistics and supplies that now reside in the PMM. Again, this video taken earlier today by Satoshi Furukawa.
Procedure available right now for the reloads. I'm willing to put it in work right now.
You're watching Expedition 28 flight engineer Sergei Volkov as he performed in-flight maintenance to a bulky gyroscope and its associated cable in the treadmill vibration isolation system. His work proved successful as the gyroscope spun up appropriately, and that will be the forerunner for the TVIS device, as it is known, to be put back in action to support exercise by the station crew members. Again, one of several such exercise devices available for the crew aboard the International Space Station. Atlantis and the International Space Station flying 247 miles, passing over the Caspian Sea. The view of Uzbekistan from 247 miles above through cameras aboard Atlantis. Moving from northwest to southeast, this orbit to carry Atlantis Afghanistan, directly over Lahore, Pakistan, and over the eastern regions of India.
This is Mission Control Houston. We are taking a look at some video playback from the crew of Expedition 28. Sergei Volkov has been working on this treadmill you see here. This is in the Russian segment of the station. It's called TVIS. It stands for the Treadmill Vibration Isolation System. But it's one of the onboard exercise devices that the crew uses. They've been working on this last few days because they've noticed some abnormal noises and other symptoms coming from it. There is a gyroscope inside of this that helps stabilize the treadmill, which is important because whenever the crew members are running on it, you don't want it vibrating the station and causing issues with any of the very sensitive experiments on board or the station itself, so that vibration system is very important. But the gyro that helps provide that stabilization has been replaced. There is debate here in Houston about whether or not to bring back the swapped out part, because they're not sure that the gyro was actually what was causing the issue. So obviously, if it wasn't, it would be more important to keep it up on orbit as an on-orbit spare. But that decision has not been made. If it does come home, it will go aboard Atlantis' middeck. So the crew has already bagged it up in the event that they are instructed to bring it back home. But Volkov has continued to work on this treadmill, which you see him speeding up there. And he's letting the ground teams take a look at it to see what he's seeing on board so that everybody can compare notes. On board Atlantis' middeck is Doug Hurley, the pilot of STS-135, works with Ron Guerin, Expedition 28 crew member. You see all this cargo that they're getting stowed there on the middeck. The middeck's going to be pretty full coming back to Earth. Of course, there's no astronauts riding in the middeck since there's only 4 crew members, so that's a good chance to strap down quite a bit of cargo there. On the way back to Earth, the middeck's going to be packed full of 1,564 pounds of cargo. I brought up more than a ton.
Atlantis, Houston, air to ground 2 for engineering purposes. Com check through Mila.
Hey, Houston, air to ground 2, we have you loud and clear through Mila. Hey, while we have you through Mila, we just want to give a shout out to the folks who work both there and at PDL. You guys have been providing service to the shuttle program for years and years. I understand Mila was built back in 1966, and PDL was added on after the shuttle program came about. I understand also Mila is going to be decommissioned after this flight. For all the folks that work there and for all the shuttle missions that you've supported throughout the years, we thank you very much. You got anything else for us?
I do have a few things for you. First of all, for your overnight TV config, we'd like the DTV MUX, VTR, and VIP on for overnight.
Okay, very good. We'll leave them on for you.
Thanks. Also, you can swap cards in the KFX machine.
Okay, I think we have a few more pictures after today.
Great. The other thing is we put a preliminary summary timeline on board for you for tomorrow, and when you take a look at that, you'll see SM reassign is on there first thing in the morning. And we wanted to let you know what we're thinking on GPC-4 and see if you have any comments or question about the plan. Basically, the community thinks the failure was caused by a single event upset and that GPC-4 is a healthy machine. The plan is to reassign SM to GPC-4 tomorrow morning, and if no further problems arise with the GPC, which we don't expect any to arise, we'll keep SM in GPC-4 for undock. How copy?
Okay, that sounds like a wonderful plan to us. I saw some earlier words about potentially undocking with dual G2. Is that still the plan if GPC-4 works for us?
The thinking at this point, Fergie, is to go to triple G2.
Hey, that's great news. Okay, we'll take a look at that message, but I summarized it well for us. Thanks, Megan.
Okay, Fergie, that's great. Also had one last question for you regarding, we were talking about that fogged window earlier, and the follow-up question is, when you looked at that and tried to remove the fogging, did you in fact remove the protective plexiglass? And so we're just trying to determine whether or not that fogging was between the plexiglass and the window, or in fact between the window panes.
That's actually a real good question. I do remember, because it was during the inspection, and I do remember noting it, and my assessment, I did not remove the plexiglass, but my assessment of it was that it was on the other side, in between the panes of glass. So I didn't even try. But to answer your question, no, I didn't remove it. If we see it occur again, we can certainly try that. But no, I did not remove it and try to wipe it clean.
Okay, thanks for those clarifying words. I don't think we have anything else for you tonight, so you guys enjoy your evening, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.
Hey, thanks so much to you, Megan, and all the Orbit 2 team, Rick, and Terry Keeler. I think she's working Orbit 2 DPS. We just appreciate I know you guys are working some, perhaps a little bit of overtime working this DPS thing, and we appreciate the words and kind of the configuration we're going to end up in for undocking. That's great, great news. So thanks so much, folks, and have a great night.
Thanks, Fergie. Good night.
Capcom Megan MacArthur passing along some words on GPC-4. That is one of the 5 onboard computers that suffered an issue about 2 days ago. It shut down while the crew had just gone to bed. It woke them up with a master alarm on board the shuttle. It had basically failed to the quit modes, basically to just turn itself off. The teams have taken a look at it. It ran for several hours today and was put into the mix with some of the other computers on board. And everything seemed to be fine. So they're going to keep it. The plan right now is to keep it up and running for undocking, which is good news. They consider it a healthy machine. They've taken a look at it. They think that it was just a single event failure. So it should be good to go for the remainder of this mission.
Thank you for that lovely greeting. As far as the song, we picked that to dedicate to the host shuttle workforce in celebration of everything that you've accomplished over the years. And good morning, Houston, as well.
And good morning, Atlantis. It's great to be with you once again. The execute package is on board and should be printing. You are go to change out both image cards in the KFX machine, and you're go for Outlook.
Thanks, Shannon.
You're welcome.
Capcom Shannon Lucen speaking there with Mission Specialist Sandy Magnus about this morning's wake-up call. That was first the song Celebration. by Cool and the Gang, and it was followed by a special message from employees at Stennis Space Center. They said, "Good morning, Atlantis," from your friends at Stennis Space Center. It's time to fire up your engines, and then used a Cajun French phrase that translates to "let the good times roll."
A glimpse of the activity that's ongoing as we are in the final hours of transfer work, placing items in the Raffaello multi-purpose logistics module you're looking inside of. In the middle of your screen is the Raffaello module mated to the Earth-facing port of Harmony, just above the payload bay of Atlantis.
Okay, Houston, we think we're done with our trip around the Mount Rock. You got anything else for us, at least for the moment?
Stand by, Atlantis. I think we do. Atlantis, it's been a DPS tour de force. Great job. I'll ask you for one cleanup on OFIX 15 Foxtrot, MMU2 to OFF.
Okay, good call. That's complete.
Okay, and the Star of Opportunity line not required.
Star of Opportunity line not required. Thanks again, everybody down there for working through this stuff. Hopefully, GPC-4 remains nice and tame for us this evening.
Concur. I think it was a great plan brought together by the DPS folks and very well executed. Thanks.
The data processing system reconfiguration of the 4 primary general purpose computers is now complete. GPC-1 is the guidance, navigation, and control computer for now. GPCs 2 and 3 are freeze-dried, basically put to sleep, hibernating in a backup state. And GPC-4, which unexpectedly shut down on Thursday afternoon early in the crew sleep period and was reloaded with software and reactivated on Friday. Yesterday underwent a diagnostics test and was declared healthy once again, is in good shape and has been put back in the primary set as the systems management computer for Atlantis. A good view at the hatchway to the Raffaello multi-purpose logistics module. Commander Chris Ferguson and Mission Specialist Sandy Magnus are in the early stages of preparing what amounts to a curtain around the circumference. It's essentially padding that protects that delicate hatchway ceiling area. This is in preparation for the beginning of the installation of CPAs, or controller panel assemblies. These are the controller boxes that contain the electronics that govern the unbolting and all the commanding for the unbolting of the 16 bolts that hold the Raffaello module to the berthing mechanism on the nadir or Earth-facing side of the Harmony module. Sandy Magnus taking some closeout photos after she and Chris Ferguson spent the last 20 minutes, 30 minutes or so, mounting the controller boxes along the circumference of the hatchway that will govern the operation of the common berthing mechanism to which Raffaello has been mated since last month.
This is Mission Control, Houston, as we continue to take a look on board the International Space Station. That is the Destiny Laboratory there. Back behind that blue hatchway is the Unity node. Down at the bottom of that is the permanent multi-purpose module. You'll see Sandy Magnus floating through. The PMM, as it is more commonly known, was the destination for quite a bit of this cargo that came out of the multi-purpose logistics module, the big cargo carrier that came up on board Atlantis. So they're just checking things out, making sure that everything is where it needs to be. The crew is technically in an off-duty time now. But Magnus is just making sure that everything is wrapped up in terms of all of these cargo operations. They should be pretty much finished with all of this by the end of today.
Okay, Satoshi, we're ready for you in the lab NPC, and we wanted to confirm, do you have any restrictions on this video?
restrictions.
Copy that. We are ready for you to hit play in the lab.
This is Mission Control, Houston. Satoshi Furukawa downlinking some video. Just taking a look around the mid-deck of the shuttle right now, so we'll just watch along with this for a bit.
Atlantis, in air ground 2 for timeline.
Just look at some of the food that the crew enjoys on board. You saw tortillas there. That is something that all the crews take up because they figured out that pretty much anything can be put in a tortilla and enjoyed in space. And of course, it's not bread, which if you break bread apart in space, all the crumbs go flying everywhere. So that's why they prefer tortillas.
We had kind of a question that we wanted to run by Fergie.
There on the right is the pilot seat. There on the left is the commander's seat. You're getting a good look at the glass cockpit of the front of Atlantis. That was the first shuttle that ever had that. And there's the station's enormous solar arrays. There's the Japanese Kibo laboratory there. There is a good shot of the STS-1 flag that flew up on board Atlantis during this mission. The crew is intending to leave that flag on board the International Space Station. It will be picked up once again by the next United States spacecraft that docks with the International Space Station, and it will then be brought back to Earth, and then it will travel once again on the next vehicle that leaves low Earth orbit and heads out to destinations beyond.
Yes. Yeah, you keep recording. Whenever you're ready, yes. I'll meet you in the gym. We'll start packing up some things.
Roger. Thank you. And Chris, shoot. Hey.
Sure.
Hey, Chris.
Hello. Hello.
船長のクリスさんです。Thank you, Chris. では普段は足から降りる階段を頭から降りてみましょう。Thanks much, Chris. Doug.
You're welcome. Is everything needed?
Yes. Thank you. そしてこれから逆方向に宇宙ステーションに向かいます。I'm shooting back to station and then join you. Thank you. エアロックに入っていきます。そしてここで90度曲がります。このトンネルを通る。
Furukawa now heading up into the hatchway going into the Harmony node of the International Space Station where Atlantis is currently docked.
宇宙ステーションに戻ってきました。
You get a sense that there really is no upside down in space. There's no top, no bottom.
なんか変です。逆さまではありませんか？いえ、私が逆さまなのでした。元に戻りました。
Once again, Satoshi Furukawa there giving a quick tour of Atlantis as well as the Harmony node on the International Space Station. You get a sense of what it looks like on board both those vehicles from the crew's standpoint.
Atlantis, Houston, air to ground 2 for transfer.
Go ahead, Jeremy.
Thanks, Sandy, for standing by, letting us cross all the T's and dot all our I's down here. We're showing you fully complete with MPLM transfer. With all that, we should be go for MPLM hatch closure in the morning. And I just want to pass on a couple more words to you that this wraps up 10 years of the MPLM supplying the space station with cargo and resupplied items.
has brought up over 50 tons of internal cargo, and we've returned nearly, or actually over 20 tons of cargo.
And you know, Jeremy, that's some pretty impressive numbers because we really don't have another way to get large amounts of cargo to the ground. So the MPLMs have served us well, and they've been incredible workhorses for the program here and the International Space Station in particular. I agree completely.
And, of course, hats off to you and your crew. You guys have done an outstanding job. Of course, there's a little bit left to do for tomorrow, but that's nothing compared to the job that you guys have already done.
Well, it definitely was challenging, but everybody pitched in, and of course, I mentioned it before, we had a good plan. You guys did a lot of great groundwork getting us set, and if you guys wouldn't have done such a good job, and the folks at KSC getting stuff packed and keeping track of all the small things, it would have been a nightmare for us. But it really did go smoothly for all that we were working really hard, and we can't even tell you how much we appreciate all the work you guys did on the ground planning this out.
Well, I can honestly say we enjoyed it in some weird way.
Totally understand.
As we approach the final days of the Space Shuttle program, we, the crew of STS-135, would be remiss if we didn't say a special thanks to the city of Houston. Houston is the home of our astronaut corps. It's where we work and train, and we have been supported throughout this 30-year adventure of the Space Shuttle program. So we'd like to say thank you, Houston, for all you've done for us to make this possible.
Thank you, Houston.
Thank you, Houston.
Interstate's jammed with gunners like me, afraid of coming in last. But somewhere in the race we run, we're coming undone. When days go by, I can feel it flying like a hand out the window in the wind. The cars go by, yeah, it's all we've been given, so you better start living right now, 'cause days go by.
Well, good morning, Houston. Thank you for that great rendition of Days Go By Keith Urban. Days certainly do go by, so we better start living, and we are. We're enjoying every minute up here, and thanks so much for the greeting from the Johnson Space Center, our home with some of the hardest working, most talented people who have made some incredible things happen in spaceflight. We thank you for that greeting, and we're looking forward to another great day in space.
Atlantis, Houston, we agree with you completely. And while I have you, the execute packages on board and printing, you are go to change out both image cards in the KFX machine, and you're go for Outlook.
Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Capcom Shannon Lucid there talking with Mission Specialist Rex Walheim about today's wake-up message, which came at 9:29 p.m. Central Time. Started off with the song Days Go By, by Keith Urban, and followed by a special message from the employees here at the Johnson Space Center, wishing the crew a good mission. Johnson Space Center is, of course, the home of not only the astronaut corps, but also mission control and the Space Shuttle program itself.
Atlantis looks great. We're just going from the mid-deck into the
It's
tunnel
floating
here.
through the airlock. Gets a little noisier in here. Now we pitch up 90 degrees. That's the back of the airlock.
Fergie, we're getting the...
where when you do a spacewalk out of the shuttle, that's where you get out into the payload bay. Here we are making our way up into what's called the PMA. Tight clearances in some of these areas. That's probably the tightest one right there. Okay, and we emerge into the node 1. Now, first we're going to look down. We're going to look down into the MPLM. Now, MPLM work is kind of underway. And one thing I find quickly is you have to orient yourself in each module. So down to me in this module is like this. This is down. And the reason we call this down is because when we land, it's going to be this side that faces Earth. So when we think about how we pack things, especially water, we pack it so that it'll be lying on something flat when we come back, and we don't pack it on something sharp, so that when we come back into the atmosphere and we get back into a gravitational field, it falls onto something sharp and pops. Now we're going to turn you around, take a look back. We'll head out of the MPLM now. And now we'll hang a right turn. But what we have to do is orient ourselves to down in the space station, which is this way. So that's the direction we were initially facing when we came into space station, but we're not going to go that way yet because there's a couple other things to look at here. And the first one is this way. This is the Japanese module, and it is always the quietest and cleanest place on the space station. We have all of our press events right there, which is why that camera's hanging up there. And we're just going to float through here, and I'm going to show you one more thing that I guess you could call an attic. And we have to pitch up here, and we look into what's called the JLP, or the attic. And that is very, very clean too.
Houston Station on the big loop. This is Mike.
Now I'll go back down. There's a couple windows here that we could look out.
Go ahead, Mike.
We're going to look out one of them right now.
I want to let you know, I had put some files on the T drive, OCA down for Houston, folder for Photo TV 3D, and it's kind of a non-standard files there. If you guys could get those.
How's that for a winner of a view?
Or downloaded, and then let the JSC Photo TV guys know that we've sent those down.
It's a beautiful place from up here.
Copy all. We'll make that happen. Great, thanks.
All right, we're going to close this window up again. It's a little shutter. It's a wheel just off to my left that I'm turning. And we're going to turn back around. And we're going to head out of the gym. Now we're coming up on that node I mentioned. And on the other side of the node is the Columbus module. We'll just take a quick look inside there. You can see here it's crowded like everything else. These resupply flights, as they call them, are very disturbing, is probably a good word, when it comes to just overall station organization. So now we're headed back in our original direction. There's Mike Fossum.
What's that?
He's one of the guys who lives here. So he's, I guess, our host. Say hi, Mike.
Hi. Enjoy the flyabout.
Actually, I think I said the last one was Node 1. That was actually Node 2 back there. Here is Node 1. And what I'm going to do is pitch down here. We're going to take a look into what used to be an MPLM. It's now called a PMM, a Permanent Logistics Module. And I'm going to orient myself back to down. And I'm going to go through here and show you just what pandemonium is ensues here, because we're moving everything in. So you can see it, it just looks like a wreck, but it'll look a little bit better before we leave. And go all the way to the back, and you can see it just looks like there's things everywhere, and that's because there are things everywhere. So we're stuck at a dead end here, and I'm going to turn back around.
This is Mission Control Houston. We have been enjoying a tour of the International Space Station courtesy of cameraman and narrator Chris Ferguson, his day job being the commander of Atlantis. An excellent tour showing the interior of all of the modules associated with this expansive city in the sky, the International Space Station, and some of the interesting views of all of the items that have been transferred over from the Raffaello Multipurpose Logistics Module, which soon will be closed out with the hatch closed and its systems deactivated in preparation for its demating from the Earth-facing port of the Harmony module of the International Space Station to be placed back down into Atlantis' cargo bay for the trip back to Earth. The hatch to the Raffaello Multipurpose Logistics Module that you're looking at was closed at 12:03 a.m. Central Time. The crew is in the process of deactivating the systems to the module and will demate all of the jumper cables for the vestibule, the small passageway between Raffaello and the Harmony module, to which it has been mechanically attached since last Monday. And at the hatchway to the Raffaello module, Sandy Magnus, as she runs through her checklists along with Atlantis Commander Chris Ferguson on the early phase of the demating of jumper cables from that hatchway.
3.1 of vestibule config for demate is complete. And we see you. Thanks.
This is Mission Control Houston, 250 miles over the South Pacific. The hatch on the Harmony side of the interface between Harmony and the common berthing mechanism to which the Raffaello Logistics Module is attached, now being closed up and sealed by Mike Fossum, as he has helped contribute to the work underway in preparation for the detachment of the Raffaello module from the nadir port of Harmony that will be coming up shortly. Earlier, the hatch to Raffaello itself was closed at 12:03 a.m. The hatch now closed on the Harmony side of the interface at 2:23 a.m. Central Time.
station. This is Mike on the big loop. Second set of bolts is removed. If you can confirm stable attitude control configuration from your end, I show step 7 complete, ready for third set of bolts.
Okay, Mike, we can confirm DSET request inhibited as well as attitude control handover. You go to press. Station Houston on the big loop. With that step, we are in the no exercise constraint at this time.
Third set of bolts are moving, and copy the no exercise constraint.
Once all the bolts are unbolted from the common berthing mechanism interface to the Raffaello module, Sandy Magnus and Doug Hurley will be operating the Canadarm2 to slowly back the module away from the common berthing mechanism interface in the beginning of the process that then will lower the module down to Atlantis' cargo bay, first into a low hover position and then down into a series of 4 latching assemblies in the cargo bay, where Raffaello will be latched up. For the trip back to Earth, a remote electrical umbilical will be commanded to attach itself to the module to provide power for the remainder of its trip back to Earth.
Sandy and Doug, we are free. It's all yours. Go for the big arm to maneuver the MPLM.
Okay, we copy Houston. We're jumping to step 8 with the brakes off. Maneuver MPLM to demate position.
Here you go, Doug.
And with that call from flight engineer Mike Fossum of the Expedition 28 crew, Raffaello is now free and detached from the Harmony module. All 16 bolts driven open, capture latches now open, and pilot Doug Hurley, operating from the cupola, will now begin to maneuver the Canadarm2 to start the process of backing Raffaello away from the common berthing mechanism. The detachment of Raffaello occurring at 5:46 a.m. Central Time.
The Expedition 28 crew and Atlantis' crew continue to move this Raffaello multi-purpose logistics module over into Atlantis' payload bay. This entire MPLM cargo carrier weighs about 22,000 pounds on the way back down to Earth. It's got 5,600 pounds of cargo inside of it. In just 3 short days, Atlantis will be landing at the Kennedy Space Center. Right now, landing is scheduled for very early on Thursday morning. The deorbit burn would occur at 3:53 a.m. Central Time. Landing at the Kennedy Space Center set for 4:57 a.m. Central Time, 5:57 a.m. there at KSC.
Hey, Houston, we've gathered everybody here at the No. 2 forward hatch. We have a couple different things we'd like to do today. The first of which is a special presentation. You know, when great things are accomplished, pivotal moments occur in history. We have monuments and statues, and we would have loved to have brought a monument, but we really couldn't bring a monument. So what we did to celebrate this final shuttle flight docking to the International Space Station is we brought the best monument we could possibly find, and that's a space shuttle model. This space shuttle model was signed by the modern-day titans of the space shuttle program, including John Shannon, Leroy Kane, Mike Leinbach, our lead flight directors, Kwatsi Alabarujo and Chris Edelin. What you don't see is the signatures of the tens of thousands who rode to orbit with us over the past 30 years, if only in spirit. What we would like is for Doug to present this model to Mike Fossum of the Expedition 28 crew, and Mike will hopefully display it in a position of respect right here by the shuttle's regular old parking spot by the No. 2 forward hatch.
We all have lots of stories. My story with the shuttle program began in 1982 when I worked at STS-3 in mission control. Hundreds of thousands of people have contributed to the shuttle program through the many years, 30 years of flying service and another decade and a half of development before that. The space shuttle program has inspired millions and millions more. We're happy to have this model. One of the greatest testaments to the shuttle's incredible capability that 90% of the world's population can look out of their backyards at night and see us going overhead.
It looks absolutely fantastic there, Mike. It's the next best thing to really being here. We also have another special presentation today, and that presentation is a special flag. That flag was handed to me personally just a few days before launch, and the crew of STS-135, the final shuttle mission, brought it to the International Space Station, and since we've been here, we've prominently displayed the flag on the forward flight deck. We actually had it there a little bit earlier on for a public affairs event, but Doug and I, Rex and Sandy, we just really liked it. It symbolized what we were all here for, and we left it there permanently, and I think it made us feel good. Well, we have that flag, and that flag is significant not only because we brought it up on this flight, but because it also flew on STS-1. We can reach behind you, Sasha. This flag represents not just a symbol of our national pride and honor, but in this particular case, it represents a goal. This flag also will be flown prominently here by the forward hatch of No. 2 to be returned to Earth once again by an astronaut that launches on a U.S. vehicle, hopefully in just a few years. Ron, I'd like to turn this flag over to you for you to display on the No. 2 forward hatch.
Well, thanks, Bert. You know, we were looking for a place to hang this flag that flew on STS-1 and STS-135, and you know, when we were thinking about it, we thought the Harmony module would be the perfect place. You know, on our right, we've got the Japanese laboratory. On our left, we have the European laboratory. In front of us, we've got the hatch that leads to the U.S. laboratory, the Russian segment, and the rest of the space station. And above us and below us are hatches where visiting spacecraft can bring cargo. But behind us, going through that hatch right there, right now, that's the hatch that leads to Atlantis. And 35 space shuttles have docked to that mating adapter that's attached just beyond that hatch right there. And you know, during the course of the International Space Station construction, all those space shuttles that docked there left the legacy of this incredible orbiting research facility that not only is, you know, going to be a stepping stone to the rest of the exploration of the rest of the solar system, it's also really improving life on our planet. And so we thought it was a very fitting place to put that. And as we put this flag on the hatch that leads to Atlantis right now, and when we close that hatch, when these guys go by it, we're closing a chapter in the history of our nation. But in the future, when another spacecraft docks to that hatch, and with crew members on board, and we open that hatch, we are going to be opening a new era and raising the flag on a new era of exploration beyond low Earth orbit. So it's a great honor to do that, and it's a great place for us to put it.
Thanks, Ron. And when this flag returns again someday to Earth by astronauts that came up on an American spacecraft, its journey will not end there. Its journey will continue. It will also, on the heavy lift vehicle that the United States is currently working on, it will leave low Earth orbit once again, perhaps to a lunar destination, perhaps to Mars. I certainly speak on behalf of the STS-135 crew and on behalf of Expedition 28 that it is our honor to have brought this flag here and to prominently display it. Thank you.
Atlantis and ISS, thanks for those inspiring words. Thank you for honoring the thousands of people that have been a part of the Space Shuttle program over the years. And we look forward, as you do, to the day when that flag will return to Earth with a U.S. crew and then move on beyond our low Earth orbit. Thanks very much.
Hey, great words, Megan. And now back to what we continue to be a more traditional farewell ceremony. I'd like to thank the commander of the International Space Station, Andrei Borisenko, for your hospitality. You've been absolutely fantastic to us. You and your crew have demonstrated not only ISS hospitality, but you've demonstrated fantastic Russian hospitality. It's been wonderful to be here with you. You have a wonderful home. You're taking fantastic care of it, and you're going to keep it looking good for generations of space travelers to come.
We have good together work, and I would say you have a good landing. Thanks for our work.
Anything else we're going to do? Or
Just say I'm going to say a few words.
Oh, yeah. Right. Hey, just a few words overall on the mission itself. You know, this was a little bit of a unique mission for a couple of different reasons. First of all, we had kind of an abbreviated crew. We had 4 shuttle crew coming up, joining 6 space station crew. I think in this particular instance, it forced us all to work as a very tight team from the very beginning. We had a lot of help from our station counterparts, Sasha and Andrei, Sergey. The very first day that we were docked, they showed up in the MPLM to put me to work. They were absolutely wonderful. They were great sports and took care of actually stowing an awful lot of our cargo for us. We emptied the MPLM finally today, and just a short while ago put it back in the shuttle's payload bay, hopefully with everything that should be on there, and if not, what's remaining is going to go through this hatch in just a moment. But to the Expedition 28 crew, again, thank you very much for your hospitality on behalf of the 135 crew.
Well, thanks, Fergie. It's been an honor having you guys on board. It's been great having you guys on board. It's great being a part of this really important and historic mission, and we want to just thank you guys so much for leaving the space station in a posture for continued utilization, continued use for the rest of the decade. It's been really great, and you know, I'd like to thank Doug for all your work on the transfer and robotics. It was just amazing. And where's Rex? Rex, thank you for all your leadership and your dedication and hard work on the spacewalk. You and the EDA team on the ground really made that a big success. And Fergie, thank you for your leadership. Thank you for bringing the guys here. But of all your many, many accomplishments that you did on this mission, for us, from our perspective, the most important thing you did was bring Sandy here. Sandy, we cannot thank you enough for always keeping the big picture in mind, always keeping what life is going to be like after you guys leave. You were just absolutely amazing. We just cannot thank you enough for everything that you've done for us. And you know, we don't even realize it yet, but in a couple of weeks we're going to be going, wow, I'm glad Sandy was here. And we tried to trade Mike for Sandy, but Fergie wouldn't take us up on the deal. But Fergie, thank you and your crew so much. Like I said, you really left it in a good position. So on behalf of the Expedition 28 crew, the entire ISS program, we'd like to thank you, your crew, and the entire STS-135 team for leaving the station ready to go for the rest of the decade. So thank you very much.
All right, it was our honor. All right. Congratulations. Mike?
Hug time, hug time. Thank you.
See you, buddy.
very sweet, friendly.
That was very nice.
Oh,
gosh. Very good. Sasha!
Commander.
Commander. Commander. All right, Andre.
Good luck.
All right. Good luck to you.
See you, Michael. See you, man.
All right, Sergey, you're going to send
Several
me an
days
address,
ago,
right?
I know,
it's
good to see you.
Good to see you. Yes, I will have a safe landing.
Sasha.
Thanks to your
Oh.
Good to see you. You take care. Okay?
Thank you. I think we will meet in California.
Oh, yes. Thanks,
Great job. Whenever there is a job, you're there right on time. Hey, man, crew members. Awesome. Fantastic job.
Great, we finally got the flight. In a way we never would have guessed.
All right, we got everything on the right side. We got our cameras. We got the log. We're going to fill the log out. We're going to get it back to you.
Okay, and we got a card.
Got a card, and we got to get our camera.
We'll do that. We'll get everything out.
And you're going to get his thumb drive, and we're going to just pass it to you when change your thumb drive for a ship's log.
Okay, we should make a note for the cameras.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
See you guys. Rexy?
Yep.
Okay.
Good luck.
Make sure she
All right.
Oh, bummer.
Arrivederci. Sayonara.
Grab her feet. Make her stay.
Be good. Ron, we'll see you in about 7 weeks, man.
See you at Thanksgiving.
Good job.
See you at Thanksgiving, buddy. Don't forget us up here. Enjoy all the fun.
Now, you're going to get an email very shortly from him. Oh, give me the log right there.
Okay.
ISS verabschiedet zum letzten Mal. Nicht ohne ein Andenken zu hinterlassen. Die US-Astronauten hängten die amerikanische Flagge in der ISS auf, die schon beim ersten Atlantis-Flug vor 30 Jahren dabei war. Sie soll so lange dort bleiben, bis die USA wieder bemannte Weltraumflüge durchführen. Das Space Shuttle-Programm endet mit der Heimkehr der Atlantis.
Good morning, Atlantis, and a special good morning to you today, Doug.
Good morning, Houston. Thanks, Shannon. I'd like to thank my wife, Karen, and my son, Jack, for that great song. They know I really like it. And also like to say hi to my mom and dad and my brother and his family in upstate New York. We are getting ready for undock today. We get to do one last lap with Atlantis around the ISS and then start our trip home. Thanks, Houston.
Sounds great, Atlantis. Have a good fly around. And while I have you, the execute package is on board and printing. Your go to change out both image cards in the KFX machine, and your go for Outlook.
Capcom Shannon Lucid there talking with pilot Doug Hurley, sending up the crew's wake-up call for the day. That came in the form of Don't Panic by Coldplay, and the song was played for pilot Doug Hurley. Hurley's going to be behind the wheel of Atlantis for today's undocking, first moving it away from the International Space Station and then steering it in a half lap around the station for the final fly around of the station by a space shuttle.
This is Mission Control Houston, 10 days, 13 hours, 5 minutes into the flight of Atlantis to the International Space Station. There is the docking interface. At the top, the black conical device is pressurized mating adapter number 2, the docking port to which shuttles have docked for more than a decade now. At the bottom is the orbiter docking system. At the forward portion of the payload bay, right behind the aft bulkhead of the crew compartment of the orbiter. Hooks and latches will begin to disengage just about a minute or two before physical separation of the two vehicles, which will be induced by springs on both sides of the docking interface, pushing off against one another to create a separation rate of about 1/10 of a foot per second. There will be 2 separation burns that will be conducted by pilot Doug Hurley, who will be flying Atlantis from the aft flight deck. Basically, minor pulses of the reaction control system jets to induce a larger opening rate.
Ready for the item 16.
The shuttle Atlantis, in the home stretch of its 33rd and final mission of its 26-year career. A good look at the flight deck windows and the nose of Atlantis. That nose, the reinforced carbon-carbon on the nose cap of Atlantis, will be one of the areas of inspection in the late inspection that will be conducted after the undocking, fly-around, and final separation activities are completed. The crew, Commander Chris Ferguson, pilot Doug Hurley, and mission specialist Sandy Magnus will be taking turns at the aft flight deck of the orbiter in the final use of the Space Shuttle's robotic arm and the attached orbiter boom sensor system extension that will be used to inspect the starboard wing, the leading edge of the starboard wing and its reinforced carbon-carbon, the nose cap of Atlantis, and then the port wing of the orbiter before the boom is berthed for the final time on the starboard sill of Atlantis, just preceding the final berthing of the Space Shuttle's robotic arm to complete 30 years of work by that arm in support of Space Shuttle missions.
Hey, station Atlantis on the big loop. It looks like the sun's getting ready to go down, and we just wanted to tell you one more time, thanks so much for hosting us. It's a great station, and it's been an absolute pleasure to participate in 3 different shuttle missions that have come up and docked to you and help you get bigger and better with every pass. So we'll see you out there at 600 feet. Copy that, Fergie. We really appreciate it, and we'll miss you guys, and we'll see you back on Earth, and we'll try and get some good pictures of you.
Atlantis station, Mike on the big loop. Station is ready for undocking.
Atlantis copies. Physical separation, Houston.
Houston copies.
Undocking confirmed at 1:28 a.m. Central Time. Atlantis weighs anchor from the International Space Station for the last time. Twelve and a half years of shuttle missions to build and service a million-pound complex at an end. Rendezvous officer reports a good opening rate for Atlantis. This is sequential still video.
Atlantis station is in attitude control.
Atlantis copies, thanks.
Atlantis now 30 feet away from the docking interface with the International Space Station, everything looking good. It will take about 30 minutes or so for Atlantis to reach its station keeping point, 600 feet directly in front.
Atlantis departing the International Space Station for the last time. Thank you for your 12 dock missions to the ISS and for capping off 37 space shuttle missions to construct a orbiting research facility. We'll miss you guys. Godspeed, soft landing, and we'll see you back on Earth in the fall. Hey, thanks, Ron, USOS lead, and to the station commander, Andrei Borisenko. We appreciate your hospitality again. Hey, when a generation accomplishes a great thing, it's got a right to stand back and for just a moment admire and take pride in its work. From our unique vantage point right here perched above the Earth, we can see the International Space Station is a wonderful accomplishment. It was born at the end of the Cold War. It's enabled many nations to speak one in space. As the ISS now enters the era of utilization, we'll never forget the role the Space Shuttle played in its creation. Like a proud parent, we anticipate great things to follow from the men and women who build, operate, and live there. From this unique vantage point, we can see a great thing has been accomplished. Farewell, ISS. Make us proud.
Tinged with the finality of the moment, words from Ron Garan, NASA flight engineer aboard the International Space Station, and Atlantis Commander Chris Ferguson, as Atlantis continues to move away from the complex, currently at a distance of 71 feet, moving ultimately to a point about 600 feet directly in front of the station for a period of 27 minutes of station keeping to enable the station to yaw 90 degrees prior to the start of a half-lap fly around by pilot Doug Hurley from Atlantis' aft flight deck. Commander Chris Ferguson has now taken the shuttle communication systems out of radar mode and put them back into comm mode, as it's called, enabling us to have downlink television from the orbiter. Atlantis now just over 400 feet in front of the International Space Station. 37 visits of space shuttles to this complex, beginning with Endeavour in December of 1998 on the STS-88 mission that was commanded by the now director of the Kennedy Space Center, Bob Cabana. That was the joining of the Zarya module that had been launched a month earlier from the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan with the Unity connecting node, or Node 1, that still exists as the juncture between the U.S. and Russian segments of the International Space Station. There are 3 spacewalks by Jerry Ross and Jim Newman helped assemble those modules to set the stage for the flights that would follow. The first docking of Atlantis to the International Space Station came in May of 2000, 2 months prior to the launching of the Zvezda service module, the first living quarters for the International Space Station. The STS-101 mission, commanded by Jim Halsell, delivered 1.5 tons of supplies, refurbished electrical, environmental, and communication systems in both Zarya and Unity, and delivered the Expedition 2 crew to the complex, Jim Voss, Susan Helms, and Yuri Usachov. The rendezvous officer here in Mission Control reports that we're at 525 feet, should reach that 600-foot bingo point for station keeping about 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes ahead of schedule. The coordination between the shuttle and station flight control rooms then will give the go for Russian thrusters to initiate this 90-degree yaw maneuver for the International Space Station. We also are about 8 minutes away from an orbital sunrise.
Houston and station Atlantis is at 600 feet.
Houston, copy.
Copy, 600 feet.
Atlantis and the International Space Station moving into an orbital sunrise over the Atlantic Ocean. We should be hearing the initiation of the 90-degree yaw maneuver momentarily from the Space Station Flight Control Room and Flight Director Jerry Jason. This yaw maneuver will be conducted by Russian thrusters to place the longitudinal axis right in the field of view of Atlantis for the fly around of a half lap by pilot Doug Hurley.
Atlantis Houston, the station maneuver has begun.
Atlantis copies.
Atlantis station keeping now for a period of about 32 minutes while the International Space Station slowly yaws 90 degrees. Once the station has completed this unique maneuver, Atlantis will begin to fly to a position directly above the International Space Station, then behind the station, maintaining a radial distance of 600 feet.
For your SA, estimated time of completion of the maneuver, about 26 minutes. Okay, we copy on the big loop, 26 minutes to maneuver 90 degrees.
The 26 minutes represents the minimal time.
But it moves really slow.
Well, we're trying to give Doug a chance in this fight, so.
Hey, what do you want, speed or accuracy?
Fight's on.
You saw the jets on Atlantis' nose firing to maintain its station-keeping orientation. These two vehicles, so instrumental in human spaceflight over the past 30 years, and for the International Space Station over the course of its lifetime, looking at one another, admiring one another at a distance of 600 feet, while the station yaws to an orientation for one final lap by Atlantis to document the longitudinal axis, the modules, and some of the components of the International Space Station that other shuttle fly-arounds have not had an opportunity to have a view of. Atlantis and the International Space Station flying 241 miles over the border between Spain and Portugal. This view now from the television cameras on Atlantis, looking back at the International Space Station as it continues its yaw maneuver. This is Mission Control Houston in the Space Station Flight Control Room. The Power Systems Officer is reporting to Flight Director Jerry Jason some shadowing on some of the struts for the solar arrays. This is known as longeron shadowing. Although they haven't broken the threshold yet, they're watching that very carefully. About 8.5 more minutes for this yaw maneuver. If, in fact, they do break the longeron shadowing threshold, in other words, temperatures affecting the struts on the solar arrays, we have fairly tight limits on how cold those struts can get. But if the shadowing does occur to a point that we don't feel comfortable, we'll just stop the maneuver and Atlantis will begin its fly around. However, we are continuing the maneuver at this point. You can see this extremely unique view of the International Space Station as Atlantis sits just over 600 feet away. On the far left, docked to the aft end of the Zvezda service module, that is the ISS Progress 43 resupply ship that arrived at the International Space Station on June 23rd. The two vehicles that are docked at opposite ports vertically to the longitudinal axis of the station. The space-facing side belongs to the Poisk module. Docked to the zenith port of the service module is the Poisk. That is the 26 Soyuz vehicle that arrived on April 6th, or the Soyuz TMA-21. That is the vehicle for Andrei Botasenko, Alexander Samokhutyaev, and Ron Garin. Directly opposite that, on the Earth-facing port, that is the Piers docking compartment. That is the residence at the moment for the ISS Progress 42 resupply ship that arrived on April 29th. And next to it, sort of in the middle of the longitudinal axis, that is the Rosviet module and the home of the 27 Soyuz vehicle, or the Soyuz TMA-02M spacecraft that delivered Sergei Volkov, Satoshi Furukawa, and Mike Fossum to the International Space Station in early June. At the aft flight deck of Atlantis, pilot Doug Hurley is at the controls as he continues the fly around that will take Atlantis to a point about 645 or so feet directly above the International Space Station a short time from now, then to a point behind the station for the first of two firings of reaction control system jets in a two-step separation maneuver that will enable Atlantis to depart the station for the final time. Sandy Magnus and Rex Walheim are equipped with a variety of digital cameras and high-powered lenses. They are documenting the exterior of the International Space Station at this unique view, where the longitudinal axis of the station is being presented to them thanks to this 90-degree yaw maneuver. On the far right of the axis of the space station, that is the Harmony module in the horizontal position. Basically, as you look at this view, that's where Atlantis was docked to. And on either side, those two large modules. At the bottom is the European Space Agency's Columbus laboratory. And on the top of Harmony, as you look at this view from directly above the space station, is the large Japanese segment of the complex, the Kibo module, and its external experiment platform. Atlantis now beginning to move to a position behind the space station, maintaining a radial distance of about 685 feet or so. The fly around going very well, and all of the space station systems looking good.
Okay, reflector 3, Steve, and we're seeing about 685 on the range on the HHL. It's been pretty consistent.
Copy.
You can see the jets firing on Atlantis. Doug Hurley in control of the aft flight deck. Atlantis and the International Space Station separated by 685 feet, flying over the Indonesian island chain.
Atlantis Station on the big loop. We see you from Sergei's bedroom window. That's great news. Thanks, Station. You guys look good from here.
Flight engineer Ron Garin admiring the view of Atlantis. Chris Ferguson responding. Doug Hurley busy flying Atlantis at the moment. The orbiter is behind the International Space Station. We're about 6 minutes away from the first of two separation maneuvers. The first burn, a SEP-1 burn, is a 1.5 foot per second radial downward burn that will enable Atlantis to move to a position directly below the station for the final separation burn, a SEP-2 burn, which is a larger component, 10 feet per second, a retrograde burn that will enable Atlantis to depart the station for the final time. and through the shuttle's S-band communication system, the sequential still video view. This is a frame refreshed view in the absence of a downlink KU band capability at the moment from Atlantis. Looking back at the station, which will maneuver back into its normal orientation following a final separation maneuver. We're about 24 seconds away from the first separation burn by pilot Doug Hurley. This will be a 1.5 foot per second radial down burn.
Block 8 Bravo.
Copy. We're with you in 8 Bravo.
This will be about a 4-second burst of the reaction control system jets. And you saw the jets firing. The SEP-1 burn complete.
And ISS Atlantis on the big loop. We're essentially complete with our fly around. We'll be coming out underneath you and should have a good view from the cupola. I'm not sure when we're going to break down the big loop, but if it's anytime soon, we just wanted to give you a final goodbye.
Hey, thanks, Fergie. We'll be watching you from the SM windows, and you guys look really good on the fly around from what we can see. And again, thank you so much for all that you guys have done for us up here. We really, really appreciate it.
You couldn't script it any better, but as Atlantis flies into an orbital sunset, about to execute its second separation burn, Ron Garan communicating with Chris Ferguson as Atlantis approaches a point directly below the International Space Station. That second separation burn will be noted as both Ferguson and Garan, who heads up U.S. orbital segment operations as one of the 2 NASA flight engineers on board the International Space Station, along with Mike Fossum. The station crew is watching this activity now out of the Zvezda service module windows, their best vantage point for this particular orientation of the station relative to Atlantis. Atlantis moments away from departing from the International Space Station for the final time, having undocked almost an hour and a half ago. The fly around is essentially complete. There'll be one more burst of the reaction control system jets. That coming in 21 minutes to complete Atlantis' 12th and final visit to the International Space Station.
Letzter Flug, die US-Raumfähre Atlantis hat von der ISS nun abgedockt und ist auf dem Weg zurück in Richtung Erde. Es ist ein historischer Moment im All. Die US-Raumfähre Atlantis hat von der Internationalen Raumstation abgedockt, zum letzten Mal in der Geschichte der Space Shuttles. Solche Bilder wie diese hier, die wird es nie wieder geben. Die Atlantis löst sich also von der ISS und macht sich mit der 4-köpfigen Besatzung auf den Heimweg zur Erde. Gestern Abend hatten sich die ISS-Bewohner von den Besuchern verabschiedet. Am Donnerstagmittag dann soll die Raumfähre auf dem Weltraumbahnhof Cape Canaveral landen. Damit ist die 30-jährige Geschichte der US-Space Shuttles endgültig vorbei. Wir wollen noch einmal auf Live-Bilder aus dem All schauen, liebe Zuschauer, wie es dort zurzeit aussieht. Und da sehen wir ein sehr klares Signal. Es ist ja wirklich ein historischer Moment in der Geschichte der US-Raumfahrt. Denn die Zukunft der Raumfahrt, die wird ganz anders aussehen und wird bestimmt werden von Russland. Russland wird mit seinen Soyuz-Kapseln das Weltraummonopol zunächst einmal übernehmen. Das heißt, wenn Transporte zur internationalen Raumstation ISS geplant sind, wird man auf die Kollegen aus Russland zurückgreifen müssen. Aber es gibt noch eine mögliche Alternative, und das sind private Unternehmen wie zum Beispiel SpaceX, die ebenfalls mit großen Investitionen versuchen, ins All zu gelangen, Transporte dorthin zu organisieren und natürlich ein großer Punkt auch Weltraumtourismus, ganz klar auch da neue Einnahmequellen. Also wir sehen hier noch einmal Live-Bilder dieses historischen Moments im All. Die Raumfähre Atlantis hat von der ISS nun abgedockt.
Physical separation, Houston.
Houston copies.
Undocking confirmed at 1:28 a.m. Central Time. Atlantis weighs anchor from the International Space Station for the last time. 12.5 years of shuttle missions to build and service a million-pound complex at an end. Rendezvous officer reports a good opening rate for Atlantis.
Atlantis, station is in attitude control.
Atlantis copies, thanks.
Und Donnerstagmittag unserer Zeit wird dann die Atlantis zum letzten Mal landen in Cape Canaveral in Florida. Und damit ist diese Ära vorbei. 355 Menschen werden die Space Shuttles dann zur Raumstation in die Erdumlaufbahn gebracht haben. Und damit endet eine Ära. Die Space Shuttles, die es jetzt noch gibt, die 3 verbliebenen, die gehen ins Museum, unter anderem auch die Atlantis, die diese wunderbaren Aufnahmen live über uns, 350 Kilometer über uns ungefähr, über dem Pazifischen Ozean im Augenblick macht und diese Signale zur Erde nach Houston schickt.
Nick, und dann werden wir am Donnerstag bei der Landung der Atlantis natürlich auf jeden Fall mit dabei sein. Vielen Dank für diese Information.
Und weinen.
Und weinen. Das werden wir natürlich auch.
Ja.
Ist ja ein Teil unserer Geschichte.
So ist
Danke, Mick Locher.
Schauen wir noch mal auf Live-Bilder von dort, liebe Zuschauer. Und wir sehen gerade das Kontrollzentrum. Von dort wird der Rückflug der Atlantis zur Erde natürlich strengstens überwacht. 30 Jahre Shuttle-Zeitalter gehen zu Ende und entsprechend emotional war auch der Abschied der Crew, der Atlantis-Crew im All, von den Bewohnern der ISS. Und es gab noch einen prominenten Anruf im All. US-Präsident Obama hat sich bedankt, hat gesagt, er sei sehr stolz auf die Crew und hat angekündigt, Zeit für Wehmut, die gibt es nicht. Die US-Raumfahrt startet in eine neue Ära. Es soll Missionen über die Erde hinaus und schließlich bis zum Mars geben. Dies also nochmal Live-Bilder aus dem Kontrollzentrum vom Rückflug der Atlantis.
So much for leaving the space station in a posture for continued utilization, continued use for the rest of the decade.
A fond and final farewell in the zero gravity of space. For both crews, this was an emotional occasion. The shuttle fleet has helped build and maintain the space station over recent years. As the Atlantis crew departed, they left behind a model of a space shuttle and sealed the passageway between the two craft with an American flag. It was used in the very first shuttle mission 30 years ago.
Atlantis, Houston on the Big Loop. You have a go for undocking.
And as the space shuttle Atlantis undocked and gently drifted away, so ended an era in space exploration. Atlantis will now prepare for its return to the Kennedy Space Center in Florida, the last shuttle to drift back down to Earth before the entire program comes to an end. Once Atlantis returns, it will, like the rest of the fleet, be retired to a museum. American astronauts who want to return to space will, for the next few years at least, have to rely on Russian spacecraft. But all eyes will now be on Atlantis, the last and perhaps most iconic spacecraft of recent times. Andy Gallagher, BBC News, Florida.
Yeah, if you want more on that, of course, do go to the website, bbc.com/news, for much more.
Die Nachrichten bei NTV. Einen schönen guten Morgen, liebe Zuschauer. Hier sind die Themen der kommenden Minuten. Letzter Flug. Die US-Raumfähre Atlantis hat erfolgreich von der ISS abgedockt und nun den Rückflug Richtung Erde gestartet. Abdocken erfolgreich. Die US-Raumfähre Atlantis ist auf ihrem letzten Flug in Richtung Erde unterwegs und damit enden 30 Jahre Space Shuttle Geschichte.
Diese Bilder schreiben Geschichte. 8:28 Uhr deutscher Zeit. Die Raumfähre Atlantis dockt zum letzten Mal von der internationalen Raumstation ISS ab und macht sich auf ihren letzten Flug. Den letzten Flug einer US-Raumfähre überhaupt. Auf seinem Abschiedsflug hat das Space Shuttle Proviant, Kleidung und andere Vorräte für ein Jahr zur Station gebracht. Auf dem Rückflug zur Erde nimmt sie Abfall und ausgemusterte Geräte von der ISS mit. Am Donnerstag soll sie in Florida endgültig landen. Dass die Raumfähren jetzt eingemottet werden, bedeutet aber nicht das Aus für die bemannte Raumfahrt der USA, nur eine Pause. US-Präsident Barack Obama will, so wörtlich, endlich Amerikaner zum Mars schicken.
Ja, und da wollen wir drüber sprechen mit dem ESA-Astronauten Reinhold Ewald. Der ist uns jetzt telefonisch zugeschaltet. Herr Ewald, schön, dass Sie bei uns sind. Zunächst einmal das, aber verspüren Sie denn ebenfalls Wehmut, wenn Sie diese Bilder sehen?
Ja, sicherlich. Das ist jetzt eine Zeit, wo viel Umbruch ist, wo wir uns dran gewöhnen müssen, diese Leistungsfähigkeit des Shuttle für die internationale Raumstation nicht mehr zur Verfügung zu haben. Besonders der Rücktransport, so wie jetzt zum Beispiel von Material, wird schwieriger werden. Es wird eine Übergangszeit geben, wo wir auf die Soyuz-Kapseln als einziges rückkehrfähiges Element angewiesen sind und die können außer der Crew eigentlich nicht viel zurücknehmen. Natürlich schaut man auch auf 30 Jahre anderer Erfolge vom Shuttle, wie zum Beispiel mit dem Hubble Space Teleskop oder für uns Europäer ganz wichtig die Space Lab Mission. Alles das rundet sich jetzt, die Station fliegt und das Shuttle hat seinen ganz elementaren Anteil daran gehabt.
Wollen wir noch mal zu dieser Ankündigung von US-Präsident Obama zurückkommen, wie es denn jetzt weitergeht. Er hat ja schon, wollen wir es so formulieren, relativ weit vorgegriffen, hat gesagt, jetzt geht's auf in Richtung Mars. Wie ist das zu sehen? Realistisch oder sind das so Ankündigungen, um vielleicht auch einen gewissen Wehmut zu verdecken?
Da ist, glaube ich, ein Punkt auch in allen Berichten, die veröffentlicht werden, erreicht, wo man doch etwas nüchterner an diese Sache herangeht. Also die Aufbruchsstimmung der 60er, innerhalb einer Dekade zum Mond zu fliegen, das ist nicht in dieser Ankündigung von Präsident Obama enthalten, sondern das sind ganz konkrete Schritte, die auch finanzierbar sind. Und das ernüchtert natürlich den Weltraumfan, den Enthusiasten, der gleich jetzt von der internationalen Raumstation zum Mond und zum Mars fliegen will, dass da eine gewaltige politische Arbeit auch hinterstehen muss, die nötige Finanzierung zu bekommen. Von der Seite der Raumfahrtgemeinde muss man natürlich nachweisen, dass es technisch möglich ist. Und da sind wir mit der Raumstation in einer sehr guten Position, denn alles das, was wir an Explorationstechniken, also an Techniken zur Erforschung der anderen Himmelskörper brauchen, können wir schon mal auf die Raumstation bringen und dort voraustesten. Das wird das Programm der nächsten Jahre sein.
Also auch der ESA-Astronaut Reinhold Ewald blickt mit Spannung und auch ein wenig Wehmut, wie er uns verraten hat, auf diese Bilder. Dankeschön für Ihre Einschätzung, dass Sie bei uns waren.
Es ist das Ende einer Ära. Die Raumfähre Atlantis hat am Morgen abgelegt von der internationalen Raumstation ISS. Mit 4 Astronauten an Bord machte sich damit zum letzten Mal ein Shuttle der NASA auf den Weg zurück zur Erde. Der Atlantis wird Donnerstagmorgen in Florida erwartet. Anschließend geht es weiter ins Museum. Künftig werden die US-Astronauten mit russischen Soyuz-Raketen zur Raumstation fliegen. Ja, und vielleicht werden die NASA-Astronauten ja auch demnächst von der privaten Konkurrenz abgeworben. Weil es sind ja einige, die jetzt quasi arbeitslos sind. Wie sieht es denn aus, Mick Locher aus unserer Weltraumredaktion?
Naja, im Augenblick sind die Astronauten ja noch unterwegs. Wir sehen hier Bilder vom Ablegen. Im Zeitraffer haben wir das gemacht. Man sieht jetzt hier schon so ein bisschen im Hintergrund verschwommen die Konturen der Raumstation, weil das Space Shuttle die Atlantis schon abgerückt ist. Der Pilot steuert von Hand dieses relativ komplexe Manöver. Muss ja immer aufpassen, dass man nicht gegen die Solarsegel dotzt oder knallt. Ist ja auch schon vorgekommen bei der Mir damals. Und man sieht hier schon diesen gewaltigen Komplex der ISS. Man sieht hier sehr schön die Atlantis, hier die Ladebucht, die frühere Schleuse zum Andocken. Hier sehen wir den Container, der Raffaello heißt, ein italienisches Modell. Da ist der Müll drin, den nehmen die Astronauten jetzt wieder mit nach Hause. Und warum zeigen wir diese Bilder? Weil es sie so nicht gibt, bisher nicht gab. Die Raumstation wird von dem Space Shuttle Atlantis ungefähr aus 300 bis 600 Meter Entfernung fotografiert, aufgezeichnet, und dazu fliegt der Space Shuttle hier um die Raumstation herum, und hier vorne in der Nase, da sind die Steuerdüsen drin und die fauchen manchmal. Ich hoffe, man sieht es jetzt haben Sie es vielleicht gerade gesehen. Und damit kann sich das Shuttle um diese Raumstation herumdrehen und ganz präzise Aufnahmen machen. Sie nehmen dafür diesen Kran hier, den man hier sieht, der ist 15 Meter lang, kommt aus der Ladebucht, und damit wird die Raumstation exakt fotografiert, weil sie jetzt fertig ist und weil kein Space Shuttle oder kein anderes Raumschiff dazu so in der Lage mehr sein wird, die Raumstation zu fotografieren. Das Ganze dauert jetzt noch, jetzt haben wir noch eine gute Stunde. Dann gibt es den Final Separation Burn, dann geht es abwärts für die Atlantis Richtung Heimat, Richtung Cape Canaveral. Hier sehen wir nochmal die Raumstation, sie ist jetzt fertig, wird 20 Jahre so arbeiten, und wie gesagt, der Space Shuttle macht sich jetzt gleich auf Richtung Erde.
Wir freuen uns. Vielen Dank, Mick Locher.
777.
Well, the shuttle Atlantis undocks from the International Space Station one last time, separating at 2:28 this morning, 250 miles above the Earth. The two vehicles were locked. They were linked for about a week, but now it's time for Atlantis astronauts to start heading home. Before undocking, the crew woke up to "Don't Panic," but why get a wake-up call from Coldplay when they can get one from me? The Atlantis astronauts will be live on Wake Up Call tomorrow morning, right around 5 a.m. Set your DVR, set your alarm clock, tell your friends. They'll be here talking to me.
Atlantis, Houston, on the big loop. Hey, go ahead, Dan.
Hey, Fergie, from the ULF-7 Orbit 1 team in the ISS Mission Control Room here in Houston, we just want to let you know that it's been our pleasure and honor to support the 37th mission of the Space Shuttle to the ISS. And we're proud to be the last in a countless line of mission control teams that have had the honor to watch over the ISS while Discovery and Endeavour and Atlantis have visited over the last 13 years. From this room, we've watched and supported as the shuttle has enabled the station to grow from a humble single module that was grappled by the shuttle's arm to a stunning facility that is so large that some astronauts have even momentarily gotten lost in it. You can take it from me. So, of course, the ISS wouldn't be here without the space shuttle. So, while we have the communication link up for the last time, we wanted to say thank you and farewell to the magnificent machines that delivered, assembled, and staffed our world-class laboratory in space. So Fergie, Chunky, Sandy, and Rex, get her home safely and enjoy the last couple days in Space Shuttle Atlantis.
Hey, Dan, and to the whole Ficker 1 team and the Orbit 1 team, Jerry, from Jerry on down, we do appreciate those great words. You know, it's been an incredible ride, and I think on behalf of the four of us, we're really appreciative that we had the opportunity to work with you, and are extremely fortunate to have taken part in this pivotal mission. We're looking forward to, in a couple days, to meeting up with most of you and patting you on the back and sharing some of the stories, some of the behind-the-scenes stuff that we hope we successfully hid from you. But believe me, there was a little bit of pandemonium between what appeared to be all the calm. And we're glad to be headed home, and we're happy to serve with you. We'll see you, Dan.
Fergie, thanks a million. We'll see you back home. Take care. Have a safe flight.
Veteran astronaut and former expedition crew member Dan Tawney in the Space Station Flight Control Room with an opportunity to say farewell to Space Shuttle Atlantis and its commander Chris Ferguson, as Atlantis is moments away from firing its reaction control system jets, having completed the fly-around, a textbook fly-around by pilot Doug Hurley.
Ganz herzlich willkommen zu unserem News-Spezial, die letzte Shuttle-Mission.
Ja, auch von mir, hallo und herzlich willkommen. Man muss sagen, es ist wirklich ein historischer Abschied im Weltall. Kurz vor dem letzten Rückflug eines Space Shuttles zur Erde verabschiedeten sich die Besatzung der Atlantis von der Crew der Internationalen Raumstation ISS.
Vor wenigen Stunden hat die Atlantis wieder abgedockt und fliegt jetzt Richtung Heimat zurück zur Erde.
Diese Bilder schreiben Geschichte. 8:28 Uhr deutscher Zeit. Die Raumfähre Atlantis dockt zum letzten Mal von der Internationalen Raumstation ISS ab und macht sich auf ihren letzten Flug. Den letzten Flug einer US-Raumfähre überhaupt. Mit einem perfekten Start war das Space Shuttle vor 12 Tagen vom Weltraumbahnhof Cape Canaveral in Florida zum Abschiedsflug gestartet. Mit an Bord Proviant, Kleidung und andere Vorräte für die ISS für ein Jahr. Dann der letzte Weltraumspaziergang der amerikanischen Space Shuttle-Ära. 2 Astronauten montierten eine defekte Kühlpumpe von der ISS ab. Das Gerät wird jetzt wieder mit runter zur Erde gebracht. Vor dem historischen Goodbye ließ die Atlantis-Crew als Andenken eine kleine US-Flagge zurück. Die war schon bei der ersten Shuttle-Mission im Jahr 1981 an Bord der Columbia mit dabei. Erst wenn wieder US-Astronauten von amerikanischem Boden aus ins All fliegen, soll sie zurückgeholt werden. Und dass dieser Tag kommen wird, davon ist die Atlantis-Besatzung überzeugt. Ihre Reise wird hier nicht enden, ihre Reise wird weitergehen, sagt der Kommandeur der Atlantis. Denn dass die Raumfähren jetzt nach 30 Jahren eingemottet werden, bedeutet nicht das Aus für die bemannte Raumfahrt der USA, nur eine Pause. US-Präsident Barack Obama will, so wörtlich, endlich Amerikaner zum Mars schicken.
Für die 4 Astronauten an Bord der Raumfähre Atlantis hat der Rückflug zur Erde also begonnen. Spannend wird es nochmal beim Wiedereintritt in die Erdatmosphäre. Was zu diesem Zeitpunkt genau passiert, erklärt uns jetzt Bianca Thomas.
Ja, Romy, die Luke wurde geschlossen. Die Atlantis hat also die ISS verlassen und fliegt jetzt in einer Umlaufbahn von rund 400 Kilometern um die Erde. Mit dem Wiedereintritt in die Erdatmosphäre, da beginnt die kritische Phase für die Astronauten, aber auch für die Techniker am Boden. Denn während dieser Zeit bricht der Funkkontakt zum Shuttle ab. Das Kontrollzentrum in Houston, das kann die Crew erst wieder erreichen, wenn der Wiedereintritt geschafft ist. Das sind dann nervenaufreibende Minuten. Ja, zum Verlassen der Umlaufbahn wird die Atlantis entgegen der Umlaufrichtung gedreht. Sie soll dann in rund 120 Kilometern Höhe wieder in die Erdatmosphäre eintreten. Der Eintrittswinkel, der muss genau berechnet werden. Der liegt dann meistens zwischen 6 und 7 Grad. Beim Wiedereintritt steht das Shuttle unter einem extremen Druck. Die Temperatur am Hitzeschild, die erreicht mehr als 1000 Grad Celsius. Und gegen diese Hitze sollen Kacheln schützen. Genau diese Kacheln, die waren beim Shuttle Columbia an der linken Tragfläche kaputt. Und deshalb brach dann auch die Raumfähre beim Wiedereintritt 2003 innerhalb von wenigen Sekunden auseinander.
Am Telefon ist jetzt der ESA-Astronaut Reinhold Ewald. Guten Tag, Herr Ewald.
Einen schönen guten Tag.
Wir haben es gerade gehört, der Wiedereintritt in die Erdatmosphäre, das ist immer eine spannende, brenzlige Phase, auch weil da ja der Funkverkehr abbricht. Warum eigentlich?
Ja, das hat natürlich mit dem Typ des Shuttle zu tun, also mit seiner Funktion als wiederverwendbares Fahrzeug. Diese Kacheln waren ja komplett neu als Konzept 1981 beim Erstflug und man hat 3, 4 Flüge dazu verwandt, auch genau das zu testen. Große Aufmerksamkeit ist immer wieder darauf gelegt worden, diese Kacheln dann auch nach Beschädigungen auszuwechseln. Und der Unfall von Columbia hat gezeigt, dass man nicht genug getan hat. Heute geht dem Wiedereintritt in die Erdatmosphäre eine Inspektion durch einen Roboterarm, den das Shuttle mitführt, voran. Wir haben gehört, dass die Astronauten auch die sich annähernde Fähre dann genauestens fotografieren und das wird am Boden ausgewertet, so dass wir heute also wissen, im Gegensatz zu Columbia, wo man es nur annehmen konnte, dass das Fahrzeug in einem guten Zustand ist.
Nun gab es ja bei mehreren Space Shuttles diese Probleme mit den Hitzekacheln. Wenn man jetzt in den USA an einem neuen Raumtransporter arbeitet, wird man das Problem dann möglicherweise ganz anders lösen oder gibt es keine andere Möglichkeit?
Das ist die Natur dieses neuen Raumfahrzeugs als Kapsel, ist sie nicht für eine Wiederverwendung gedacht und man kann andere Hitzeschutzmechanismen als beim Shuttle dann aufbringen, so wie auch die russischen Sojus-Kapseln ja mit einem robusteren und weniger empfindlichen System zur Erde zurückkehren und das verlässlich.
Dankeschön, Herr Ewald.
Ja, und mit dem letzten Flug eines US-Space Shuttles geht eine 30 Jahre lange Ära zu Ende. Bei den Amerikanern schwingen durchaus natürlich so etwas wie Wehmut mit, wenn jetzt auch die Atlantis noch ins Museum kommt.
Unser USA-Korrespondent Christian Wilb blickt einmal zurück und nach vorn.
6, 5, 4, we've gone for main engine start.
Es war der 12. April 1981, 7 Uhr Ortszeit. Start der Space Shuttle Columbia. Der Beginn einer neuen Ära, der Stolz einer ganzen Nation. Ein scheinbar perfektes System. Keine Wegwerfware, sondern wiederverwertbare Fähren. Keine seltenen Starts, sondern Routineflüge. Und das alles zu günstigen Preisen.
Naja, wir haben 30 Jahre lang mit dem Shuttle gelebt, ihn entwickelt, sind durch die großen und die weniger guten Momente mit ihm bis heute gekommen. 135 Flüge. In dieser Zeit hat sich dieses Transportgerät bestens bewährt.
Wir treffen Jesko von Puttkammer in seiner Wahlheimat in Washington. Seit den 60er Jahren arbeitet er für die NASA. Der Deutsch-Amerikaner, ehemals im Team Werner von Brauns, hält das Prinzip, Menschen und Nutzlast ins All und wieder zurückzubringen, nach wie vor für genial. Dennoch ist jetzt Schluss. Nach 135 Missionen werden die Space Shuttles endgültig aus dem Verkehr gezogen.
Und wir müssen jetzt halt sehen, wie wir diese Lücke ohne Shuttle überbrücken. Wir sind auf die Russen angewiesen. Wir müssen unsere eigenen Astronauten auf russischen Sojus-Raketen zur ISS schicken, zur Internationalen Raumstation. Ungefähr, würde ich sagen, 4, 5 Jahre lang. Das ist natürlich für viele Amerikaner schmerzlich. Die kriegen Bauchschmerzen.
Eine Lücke mit Ansage. Das Shuttle-Programm galt von Anfang an als unterfinanziert. Die erhoffte Routine entwickelte sich nie. Letztlich erwiesen sich die Raumfähren als Sicherheitsrisiko. Die einst stolze Raumfahrernation USA steuert schwierigen Zeiten entgegen. Die Space Shuttles wandern ins Museum. Für Missionen zur Internationalen Raumstation ISS ist man auf Mitfahrgelegenheiten angewiesen. Die anvisierten Expeditionen zum Mars nur noch eine Erinnerung an bessere Zeiten. Noch vor wenigen Jahren herrschte Aufbruchsstimmung. Die Rückkehr zum Mond war für spätestens 2020 geplant. Später sollte auch der Mars betreten werden. George W. Bush hatte diese Pläne 2004 vorgestellt.
Wir werden der NASA einen neuen Fokus geben und eine neue Vision für künftige Missionen.
Die Euphorie ist längst verflogen. Knappe Kassen und mangelnder politischer Wille haben die Pläne scheitern lassen. Stattdessen macht die NASA aus der Not eine Tugend. Die Zusammenarbeit mit den Russen wird forciert. Gleichzeitig soll eine Trägerrakete im finanzschonenden Baukastensystem entwickelt werden.
In diesen Tagen wird die Welt erfahren, dass wir eine neue Rakete bauen und der Shuttle ist längst nicht tot. Die Haupttechnik der Shuttle wird in der neuen Rakete wieder verwendet werden.
Die Abwicklung des antiquierten Space-Shuttle-Systems soll dabei neue Kräfte freisetzen. Für die ganz großen Sprünge fehlt es aber wieder einmal an Geld.
Tja, es fehlt am Geld. Aber waren Sie doch der Stolz der NASA, ein amerikanischer Traum.
Der manchmal allerdings auch in einem Trauma endete, denn nicht alle Shuttleflüge brachten Erfolge. Manche endeten auch in einer Katastrophe.
Sie wollen nicht glauben, dass es tatsächlich wahr ist, was Sie am Himmel über Florida sehen müssen, am 28. Januar 1986. Amerikas Stolz, die Raumfähre Challenger, explodiert kurz nach ihrem Start. Alle 7 Besatzungsmitglieder kommen ums Leben. Amerika ist geschockt. Flüge ins All, das war nach 24 erfolgreichen Missionen doch fast schon Routine. Dass es mit der Mission STS-135 von Anfang an Probleme gab, davon wollte im Kennedy Space Center kaum einer etwas wissen. Bedenkende Ingenieure wurden ignoriert und sie wurden fast Lügen gestraft, denn der Start, er sah aus wie aus dem Bilderbuch.
3, 2, 1 and liftoff. Liftoff of the 25th Space Shuttle mission and it has cleared the tower.
73 Sekunden später steht das ganze Raumfahrtprogramm der NASA zur Disposition. Wie von den Ingenieuren befürchtet, versagt ein Dichtungsring an der rechten Feststoffrakete. Am Ende fliegt das ganze Shuttle auseinander in 15 Kilometern Höhe. Nach dem Unglück wird das Shuttle-Programm erst einmal gestoppt. 2,5 Jahre lang bleiben die Raumfähren am Boden. Die NASA bessert nach, noch einmal würde Amerikas Raumfahrt einen solchen Tiefschlag nicht verkraften. Und sie startet wieder durch. In den 90er Jahren sind die Space Shuttle vor allem Raumtransporter, die Material ins All bringen für den Aufbau der internationalen Raumstation ISS. Auch der Flug der Columbia 2003 verläuft ohne Probleme. Scheinbar. Die Besatzungsmitglieder gehen offenbar in aller Ruhe Routineaufgaben nach. Nichts deutet auf das bevorstehende Unglück hin. Doch schon beim Start beschädigt ein Stück Isolationsmaterial des Haupttanks die Hitzekacheln am linken Flügel des Raumschiffs. Zwar bemerkt die NASA den Zwischenfall an der damals 22 Jahre alten Raumfähre, bedenklich findet das aber niemand. Ein folgenschwerer Fehler. Beim Wiedereintritt in die Erdatmosphäre ist die Columbia nicht mehr vor der extremen Hitze geschützt. Sie bricht auseinander und verglüht teilweise beim Landeanflug. Heute Morgen um 9 Uhr verlor die Kontrollstation in Houston den Kontakt zum Space Shuttle Columbia. Trümmerteile fielen über Texas vom Himmel. Die Columbia ist verloren. Es gibt keine Überlebenden.
There are no survivors.
7 Besatzungsmitglieder waren an Bord. Nach der erneuten Katastrophe werden noch einmal die Sicherheitsbestimmungen verschärft, die Technik überarbeitet. Jetzt aber zieht Amerika einen vorläufigen Schlussstrich unter die bemannte Raumfahrt, traumatisiert von 2 Katastrophen.
Tja, und gleich weiter geht's nach München zu Ulrich Walter. Er ist ehemaliger Wissenschaftsastronaut und Professor für Raumfahrttechnik an der Technischen Universität München. Herr Walter, wir haben es schon gehört, es hat durchaus auch Katastrophen gegeben. Wie sieht denn Ihre persönliche Bilanz der bemannten Raumfahrt aus?
Wenn Sie die Shuttle-bemannte Raumfahrt meinen, ist zwiegespalten. Das, was die Amerikaner eigentlich erreichen wollten, einen stetigen Zugang zum Weltraum, mehrmals im Jahr, mehrmals heißt 30 Mal im Jahr, und vor allen Dingen auch Satelliten zu reparieren, wieder zur Erde zurückzubringen und sie dann wieder in den Weltraum zu bringen, das hat sich nicht erfüllt. Was sich allerdings erfüllt hat, ist, der Shuttle wurde gebaut, um die Raumstation aufzubauen. Und genau das hat es gemacht, wenn auch über lange Zeit, aber das hat es geschafft. Jetzt, wo wir die Raumstation haben, brauchen wir das Shuttle nicht mehr. Wir wollen jetzt zum Mond oder zum Mars, und dazu kann man das Shuttle im Prinzip nicht brauchen, und deswegen kommt es in die Museen.
Das Shuttle in dem Museum. Wir wollen aber zum Mond und Mars, haben Sie selbst gesagt. Was glauben Sie, wie wird denn die Zukunft aussehen? Stichwort bemannte Raumfahrt.
Wissen Sie was, das wissen die Amerikaner selbst nicht genau. Bush hatte gesagt, ich möchte zum Mond und dann zum Mars. Und er hat genau vorgegeben, wie er das machen wollte. Er hat 2 neue Raketen bauen wollen, mit denen hätten wir zum Mond fliegen können. Dann hätten wir dort gezeigt, aha, es funktioniert. Und wenn wir dort einige Monate hätten leben können, dann wären wir auch zum Mars geflogen. Und dann kam Obama und hat gesagt, ach, wir waren schon beim Mond, mich interessiert das nicht, das lassen wir jetzt mal. Hat aber nicht gesagt, was er stattdessen will. Es hat sich gezeigt, dass er die Raumfahrt mehr zu der Privatindustrie rübergeschoben hat. Er hat finanziert viele Privatunternehmen, die jetzt für ihn, für die Amerikaner, solche Raketen bauen. Und er hofft, dass er damit besser und einfach und vor allem billiger zur Raumstation kann. Was er darüber hinaus machen will, steht überhaupt noch nicht fest. Er will nicht zum Mond, aber keiner weiß, wohin dann. Und das ist im Augenblick das große Problem.
Aber ist das große Problem nicht auch das Geld? Ich meine, Amerika ist ja praktisch pleite.
Nein. Das Problem ist nie das Geld. Schauen Sie, wie viel geben die Amerikaner aus? Etwa in unseren Einheiten etwa 10 Milliarden. Das ist für die Peanuts. Schauen Sie, allein in Europa, in Deutschland geben wir 6 Milliarden für die Kohleförderung aus. Das heißt, wir könnten eine eigene Shuttleflotte unterhalten und keiner regt sich über die Kohleförderung auf. Mit anderen Worten, Geld ist nicht das Problem. Tatsächlich bekommt heute die NASA mehr Geld, als sie noch vor ein paar Jahren bekommen hat. Es fehlt einfach nur ein Konzept. Was machen wir mit dem Geld? Und da gibt es keins.
Also Konzept gesucht, sagt Ulrich Walter, ehemaliger Wissenschaftsastronaut und Professor für Raumfahrttechnik. Vielen Dank nach München. Es gibt noch kein neues Konzept, aber jetzt jedenfalls fliegt die Atlantis heim. Und viele werden wehmütig eben auf diesem letzten Flug, das haben wir ja schon gemerkt. Aber dieses Prestigeobjekt im Orbit hat eben nicht nur viele Emotionen geweckt, sondern es hat auf jeden Fall auch Milliarden Dollar gekostet. Vielleicht doch ebenso viele für die krisengeschüttelte US-Wirtschaft.
Bilder, die Geschichte schrieben. Doch diese Zeiten sind lange vorbei. Kein Wunder, denn die Mondlandung kostete damals 25 Milliarden Dollar. So hat seit 1972 kein Mensch mehr den Trabanten betreten. Mit dem Start der Atlantis geht jetzt eine weitere Ära zu Ende. 3 Jahrzehnte lang bedeutete das Space Shuttle-Programm für die NASA Vision und Prestige und verschlang fast 200 Milliarden Dollar. Allein jeder Start kostet 1 Milliarde. So stieg das Budget der NASA immer weiter in die Höhe. Wurden 1998 noch knapp 14 Milliarden Dollar veranschlagt, waren es 2005 schon über 16 Milliarden. Knapp 19 Milliarden sind es bereits in diesem Jahr. Dabei begann das Shuttle-Programm einst als Sparprogramm. Die wiederverwendbare Raumfähre sollte Mensch und Material ins All befördern und mit Ladung an Bord wie ein Flugzeug wieder auf der Erde landen. Doch statt wie geplant 40 bis 60 Mal jährlich, hoben die Shuttles keine 5 Mal im Jahr ab. Und allein damit waren schon 25.000 NASA-Mitarbeiter beschäftigt. Mit dem Ende der Shuttle-Ära werden allein im Kennedy Space Center gut 8.000 ihren Job verlieren. Bis neue Raumschiffe eingesetzt werden können, sollen amerikanische Astronauten von russischen Raketen zur ISS gebracht werden. Das dürften sich die Amerikaner einst anders vorgestellt haben.
Jeder Start und jede Landung ist ein Spektakel im kleinen Städtchen Titusville. Gleich neben Cape Canaveral in Florida kommen viele Besucher zusammen und jedes Mal putzt sich die Stadt heraus. Diesmal ist die Arbeit aber begleitet von klammen Gefühlen. Ich bin schwer deprimiert, dass die Ära vorbei ist. Weiter oben in der Stadt rüstet sich Laura in ihrem Fischrestaurant für das letzte große Geschäft. Ehrlich gesagt war hier jedes Mal so viel los, dass wir kaum hinterherkamen. Vorne im Dixie Crossroad sitzt Dean, der uns stolz und traurig zugleich seinen Ring zeigt für 30 Jahre Arbeit am Space Shuttle. Da bin ich schon ziemlich stolz drauf, was ich da alles gemacht habe. Und es ist ein trauriges Ende. Aber ich bin bereit für neue Abenteuer. Das muss er auch, denn wie rund 7.000 andere wird Dean kurz nach der Atlantis-Landung seinen Job verlieren. Sandy Lee auch darunter. Zusammen mit ihrer kleinen Tochter und ihrem Mann Carl wohnt sie ganz in der Nähe des Space Center, wo sie 6 Jahre lang als Ingenieurin für das Shuttle-Projekt gearbeitet hat. Ich denke, NASA hat zu lange gebraucht, darüber nachzudenken, wie es weitergehen soll. Und wegen der schwächelnden Wirtschaft fehlt jetzt auch noch das Geld. Neue NASA-Projekte liegen in jeder Hinsicht weit weg in den Sternen und Titusville wird leiden. Denn nach der Atlantis-Landung wird man hier wohl 5 Jahre lang keine bemannte Raumfahrt mehr sehen.
Dieser einmalige Blick auf die Startrampe des Shuttle hat Titusville reich und berühmt gemacht. 30 Jahre lang, jetzt ist Schluss damit. Und was den Leuten vom Shuttle bleibt, das ist nicht viel mehr als ein paar übrig gebliebene Souvenirs.
Und natürlich ein paar Erinnerungsstücke im Stadtmuseum. Barbara hat sie zusammengetragen und die Aussicht, dass amerikanische Autoren für die nächsten Jahre einen Platz ausgerechnet in der russischen Sojus buchen müssen, kränkt ihren Stolz. Ich mag das nicht, aber wenn das so sein muss... Ein schmerzlicher Abschied für die eigentliche Weltraumnation Nummer 1, doch die ersten Zuschauer für das traurige Goodbye haben sich ihre Plätze schon reserviert.
Mars fliegen. Aber das ist noch eine Vision. Und die hat auch US-Präsident Obama. Er will mit der Raumkapsel Orion Astronauten zum roten Planeten schicken. Erst einmal nur in die Umlaufbahn. 2035 sollen die ersten Amerikaner den Mars betreten. Ein Traum, den wohl auch die NASA hatte, als sie den Bau der Raumkapsel 2006 in Auftrag gab. Knapp 3 Jahre später wurde die Orion dann den Amerikanern in Washington präsentiert, zum Anfassen. Und das haben auch die möglichen Astronauten von morgen genutzt. Sie wird irgendwann auf dem Mond landen und dann können die Menschen auf dem Mond rumlaufen. Sie ist ganz schnell und wird irgendwann auf dem Mond landen. Mondlandungen stehen aber wohl nicht mehr auf dem Programm. Das Ziel bleibt der Mars. Aber wie lange die US-Regierung dieses Ziel verfolgen kann, ist bei der Haushaltslage in Washington eher unklar. Realistischer sind Orion-Flüge zur internationalen Raumstation ISS. Ins All geschossen werden soll die Orion mit der Trägerrakete Ares. Sie ist rund 100 Meter lang und damit die größte Rakete der Welt. Ihre Entwicklung verschlang bis zum Teststart im vergangenen Oktober rund 1,8 Milliarden US-Dollar. Die Trägerrakete könnte 2016 einsatzfähig sein. Dann könnte sie Flüge der Orion zur Raumstation ISS möglich machen und die Amerikaner wieder unabhängiger. Bis dahin müssen NASA-Astronauten mit dem Taxi zur ISS, einem russischen Taxi, der Sojus-Kapsel. Bis 2014 kostet das die Amerikaner 355 Millionen US-Dollar. Geld, das viele NASA-Mitarbeiter wohl lieber im eigenen Land lassen würden. 8000 von ihnen sollen durch das Ende des Space-Shuttle-Programms ihre Jobs verlieren. Die Zeiten sind alles andere als rosig bei der NASA und da klammert man sich gerne an Träume. Vielleicht an den, dass dieser Satz in rund 25 Jahren noch einmal gesagt werden kann. Es ist ein kleiner Schritt für einen Menschen, aber ein großer Sprung für die Menschheit.
Und mit diesen Bildern ist es zu Ende. Unser News-Spezial zur letzten Shuttle-Mission. Danke fürs Zuschauen.
Zum letzten Mal hat eine amerikanische Space Shuttle von der internationalen Raumstation ISS abgelegt. Die Atlantis hatte Ersatzteile und Versorgungsgüter auf die Raumstation gebracht. Am Donnerstag soll ihre letzte Reise in Cape Canaveral in Florida enden. Die US-Raumfahrtbehörde NASA stellt nach 30 Jahren das Space Shuttle-Programm aus Sicherheits- und Kostengründen ein. Vorerst werden nur noch russische Trägerraketen die ISS ansteuern.
Mit dem Abdockmanöver der Raumfähre Atlantis ist am Morgen der letzte Einsatz eines US-Space Shuttles bei der internationalen Raumstation ISS zu Ende gegangen. Das Shuttle hatte noch einmal Material und Verpflegung für die nächsten 12 Monate geliefert. Die für Donnerstag geplante Landung bedeutet gleichzeitig das Ende des US-Shuttle-Programms. Vorerst wird die ISS dann nur noch von russischen Raumtransportern versorgt.
With the departure of Atlantis from the International Space Station, the final big ticket item for the day will be the late inspection of Atlantis' thermal protection heat shield, a view of the orbiter boom sensor system at the end of the shuttle's robotic arm, which is being maneuvered into the correct position over the port sill of the orbiter to accommodate the calibration of the sensors and cameras at the end of this boom extension, the inspection boom, that will be the focus of activity for the second half of the crew's workday as they conduct one final inspection of Atlantis' heat shield and one final set of data for the imagery analysts here at the Johnson Space Center as they continue to work as they do every mission right up until the day before landing to evaluate the health of the thermal protection system prior to Atlantis' return to Earth. You can see at the bottom of your screen the Raffaello multi-purpose logistics module, which is filled with about 2.5 tons of items that were no longer needed on the International Space Station. It was removed, detached from the Harmony module yesterday morning and placed. Behind it is a failed pump module that was removed from the space station's external stowage platform last week, a week ago, during a spacewalk by station flight engineers Mike Fossum and Ron Garin. It will be returned to Earth aboard Atlantis for evaluation and analysis by engineers, likely to be refurbished and reflown to the International Space Station as a spare.
at 4:56 a.m. Central Time. As this inspection continues, Atlantis is currently 239 miles above Africa, heading down toward the southeast. They're over parts of Chad and the Sudan. There are some opportunities to spot Atlantis in the night sky above your hometown early tomorrow morning. If you're in North America, we invite you to log on to spaceflight.nasa.gov. Once again, spaceflight.nasa.gov. Once you're there, just click on the button at the top that says real-time data. Once you select that, there will be a menu that pops out underneath that. Just click on sighting opportunities and then follow the instructions on the left side of the screen. You'll be able to select your home state and then your hometown. Some of the passes last upwards of 3 to 4 minutes, but we encourage you to do this because obviously this is the last time you will ever be able to see the shuttle flying over your hometown. Both it and the station are quite a sight to see if you've never done that. The robotics officer here inside the shuttle room is confirming to Orbit 2 Flight Director Rick LeBrode that everything's been wrapped up in terms of the wing survey and the nose cap survey. The orbiter boom sensor system is now in what they call the low hover position, so it will be in the Obis berth procedure. It's going to be installed back into the payload bay here momentarily.
Hey, Houston, we think that closes us out for PDRS if you agree.
We agree. Great work.
Hey, I think Ian Young might be the Orbit 2 guy. Thanks for all your help today. I think things went pretty smoothly. Bill Miller was our instructor, and he did a fantastic job. And, you know, inspection results notwithstanding, that may be the last time we put both of those big, long arms away. And they've served us well. One of them for about 6 years, one of them for about 30. And we're sorry to see them back in their cradles finally, but hey, we're happy to have completed successfully, and hopefully we don't have to pull them out again.
Chris, those are great words, and Zach Drury, your Orbit 2 PDRS, put together a little bit of history for you on the SRMS that we wanted to share with you. On November 13th, 1981, during STS-2, the SRMS was uncradled and tested for the first time. In its 30-year lifetime, it has grappled 72 payloads, deployed or retrieved 7 satellites, including retrieval and servicing of the Hubble Space Telescope 5 times. It's assisted in 115 EVAs, surveyed over 31,000 feet of RCC, and together with the SSRMS helped to build the ISS with delivery of 30 International Space Station components. Along with our Canadian friends, we celebrate this unique piece of hardware and its contributions to the Space Shuttle and Space Station programs.
Oh, hey, Megan, that was absolutely fantastic. Thanks so much. I think they're great numbers. I really do. And, you know, once again, it's our honor and privilege, I guess, to put it to bed for the final time. Like I said, inspection notwithstanding, you know, we're sorry to see it in there, but it looks just as good as it did on day one.
We agree, and I think all of us SRMS operators are shedding a little quiet tear down here, but you guys did a great job with it, and this will be probably, hopefully, the last time it comes out.
Amen.
And Megan, I'd like to extend some thanks as well. Paul Reichert and Dave Williams were excellent trainers for Photo TV, including working our way through that playback menu and getting back to you guys efficiently. But they did a really great job. They were very patient. I had 8 million questions. The rest of the crew had another 8 million questions, and they were great at getting us the information we needed. Hopefully some of our photos turned out well. If they did, it's because of their great training. If it didn't, it's because we weren't listening hard enough. But I want to say a great big thank you to those guys. They did a great job and have for many, many flights.
Sandy, thanks for the kind words for Photo TV. We'll pass the message.
Hey, good morning, Houston, and to the great folks at the Kennedy Space Center who've cared for these vehicles for the last 30 years, a special good morning to you.
Thanks a lot, and a special good morning to you, Atlantis.
Capcom Shannon Lucid, they're talking with Commander Chris Ferguson, sending up today's wake-up call that came in the form today of Fanfare for the Common Man by Aaron Copeland, sent up for Ferguson. And it included, of course, a special message from the Kennedy Space Center employees. They said, 321, good morning, Atlantis. Kennedy salutes you. See you back at Will Stop.
Atlantis, Houston, we've checked, and moving FCS checkout to after the maneuver works great for us as well. The only caveat, portion of it will take place on the dark side of the orbit. So if you want to switch on any illuminators so you can better just see if there anything flies out of the payload bay, that would be fine.
Okay, yeah, that's one thing I kind of forgot was that you guys want to do that when the sun's up, and we can do it whenever you want to do it. But if you can do it by the payload bay lights, that's great, and it sounds like you're okay with that.
That's right, Fergie. We are fine with that. No restrictions at all.
How about to the RCS hot fire? If able, could we move that to the left side if we get done FCS checkout early enough?
We just checked a few folks in the room here, Fergie, and we are fine with that as well.
That's great news. It's always great to work with such a fantastic, flexible team.
Outstanding.
Hey, speaking of teams, I'll just take a moment because we can breathe a little bit here. I got a long litany of folks that we want to thank. I know it's late at night there, and they're probably not listening, but I want to recognize them nonetheless. Hey, the first is the Shuttle Mirror, and maybe we can hook those guys up tomorrow a little bit and give them a plug. But I know they're there for Ascent, and they're there looking over our shoulder behind you guys the whole time. It's just a fantastic group of folks who have always helped us out. Hey, the second is the landing support teams. Folks out at Edwards like George Grimshaw, I know he may still be awake and listening, but those guys really take great care of us. The landing recovery manager, Dean Schaff, all familiar names to us. White Sands, all of our GOMs who support us overseas, and of course, our NCCs who take care of us on the runway afterwards. Tim O'Brien, looking forward to seeing you in about a day or so, buddy. But great teams, all taking care of the shuttle program for goodness knows how many years, and we appreciate every one of their efforts, and they're all with us in spirit today.
We certainly appreciate that, Atlantis, and I'm sure those folks do as well. Thanks for taking the time to send those words down.
As we look at the Raffaello multipurpose logistics module housed at the rear of Atlantis' cargo bay on the left, on the port sill of Atlantis is the Space Shuttle's robotic arm that completed 30 years of service with the berthing of the orbiter boom sensor system yesterday following the late inspection of Atlantis' thermal protection heat shield. A good view from payload bay cameras aboard Atlantis, a view that we will not see very much longer. The KU band communications antenna is scheduled to be stowed for the final time in shuttle program history, eliminating for the rest of Atlantis' flight and for the rest of the shuttle program the extraordinary downlink television views that we've enjoyed throughout the course of the program. Here in the flight control room, entry flight director Tony Sakachi watching as Atlantis' astronauts work in the early phase of the...
We are ready for APU start when you get there.
Copy, ready for APU start.
And as you can hear, Capcom Barry Wilmore here in the flight control room talking to Commander Chris Ferguson as the crew on board Atlantis is ready to activate auxiliary power unit number 1 in support of the flight control system checkout. Again, this is a checkout that is standard for the day before a shuttle landing to ensure that all of the aero surfaces on the orbiter are in good shape. The ailerons, the rudder, speed brake, all of the critical surfaces that control the shuttle during its descent back into the atmosphere as its computers are targeted for the shuttle landing facility and a completion to this final shuttle mission in the early morning hours on Thursday. And the data received back here, the mechanical systems officer reporting that auxiliary power unit number 1 is up and running in support of this FCS checkout. And you can see the aero surfaces now driving. Everything going very smoothly as you enjoy the view from Atlantis' low light level cameras in the payload bay. The orbiter tracking from southwest to northeast across the northeast quadrant of Brazil.
We got to get inbat loaded. We'll go DAP free and up to 201 if you agree.
We agree.
All of these views from Atlantis' payload bay cameras are just hours away from concluding with the stowage of the KU band communications antenna that will take place later on Wednesday morning.
Hey Houston, just before we continue here, I want to make sure you, when you said single pulse, I assumed that you wanted, instead of doing 2 at once, do you just want us to run through the entire sequence with 1 pulse, 1 time?
That's correct. Through the sequence 1 time with 1 pulse.
Okay, in that case, we're going to the middle of page 10-3.
Yep, we concur. We're with you.
The RCS hot fire test now underway. Again, single pulse of each of the 38 primary thrusters and the 6 vernier thrusters on Atlantis. For the 38 big RCS jets, 14 forward, 12 per aft pod, with 870 pounds of thrust apiece, 6 vernier thrusters, 2 forward, 4 aft, 24 pounds of thrust apiece. Each one of these jets being tested to ensure that we have a full complement of steering capability for Atlantis during its high-speed descent back into the Earth's atmosphere on Thursday. The propulsion officer here in Mission Control reports a good firing of the reaction control system jets. All 44 thrusters have checked out perfectly. Atlantis appears to be in fabulous shape for its homecoming to the Kennedy Space Center Thursday morning pre-dawn to wrap up the 135th and final Space Shuttle mission. Atlantis is currently flying over northern Italy at an altitude of almost 240 miles. The golden device that you see just off the starboard sill, that is the KU band antenna, the dish-shaped antenna that provides high data rate telemetry and these phenomenal television views from the space shuttle.
It doesn't say it, but do you want the L2-R2 manifold driver back on?
That's a good question, Fergie. We will take that.
A view from its payload bay cameras looking to the orbiter docking system that linked up to the International Space Station back on July 10th, and the aft flight deck windows at the aft bulkhead of the crew cabin. On the sidewall of Atlantis that you see under the boom, the orbiter boom sensor system, that is the canister in which this very small PICO satellite is located, the PicoSat deployment just over an hour and a half from now.
We'll take auto on the DAP. That'll get us in a good attitude until we get to the PicoSat deploy.
Okay, we were just wondering that. Here's auto on the DAP.
This is a very small 8-pound satellite, 5 inches by 5 inches by 10 inches, covered with solar cells to test a new type of solar cell technology.
Atlantis Houston, congratulations on the 180th successful deployment of a payload from the shuttle's payload bay.
We copy that, Houston. We'll call the deployment time MET 11 days, 16:20.
And we copy.
And with that, the final deployment of a payload in Space Shuttle program history is complete as the small PicoSat satellite is on its way. Capcom Barry Wilmore congratulating the crew on the 180th deployment of a payload in Space Shuttle history.
Hey, Butch, you and I have been through enough FAM deploy sims down the ground along with a number of folks in the control center. We know that a deployment poem is required. So if you're ready to indulge me, here we go.
We are absolutely correct.
Takes its copy. One more satellite takes its place in the sky, the last of many that the shuttle let fly. Magellan, Galileo, Hubble, and more have sailed beyond her payload bay doors. They filled science books, and still more is to come. The shuttle's legacy will live on when her flying is done. We wish PicoSat success in space where it roams. They can stay up here, but we're going home. Yes, soon for the last time, we'll gently touch down, then celebrate the shuttle with our friends on the ground. Thanks, Houston.
Outstanding, Rex. We applaud you.
Waking up to the song Fanfare for the Common Man, a fitting title for one final trip home. The shuttle is set to land tomorrow morning at 5:56 a.m. Eastern Time, ending the shuttle program. But the voyage isn't finished yet, and in about 5 minutes, I'll be talking to the crew of Atlantis live in space about their historic flight and where space exploration goes from here. You'll want to stay tuned for that.
Yeah, good morning. We've been watching Tropical Storm Brett. It's a pretty weak tropical storm, about winds of 50 miles per hour, and it's going to stay offshore. So the good news is we're not expecting this to bring showers and thunderstorms to the U.S., but we've got a lot of beach goers yet this time of the year, and this could bring in some rough surf and also the threat of rip currents along the Carolina coast, as well as Georgia and parts of Florida. So something to keep in mind over the next couple of days. The heat continues to be a huge story across the nation. We've got good news for folks across the nation's midsection. We're looking for some relief by tomorrow. However, that heat's got to go somewhere, right? So watch out for folks along the eastern seaboard. We've got excessive heat warnings and watches already in place as that heat starts to make a little bit of a shift on off towards the east. If you're traveling today looking for problems in San Francisco due to the wind, Chicago, we've got thunderstorms moving in as we speak. Atlanta and Miami will have problems later on today because of thunderstorms, and that will be the same case in the Houston area as thunderstorms pop up there.
All right, Atlantis, we are ready for the event. How about you?
Atlantis is ready for the event.
Okay, ABC News, this is Mission Control Houston. Please call Atlantis for a voice check.
Atlantis, this is ABC News. Do you hear me?
Atlantis has you loud and clear.
I want to ask really all four of you your feelings on this being the final flight of the 30-year shuttle history.
Well, I'll start off. First, let me say it's been an absolute honor to be a part of this final crew. This was a tough decision there are a number of extraordinarily qualified people to do it. We took on the task. Of course, we were just a crew of four, and I'd like to think that we went up there, did a bang-up job with the limited number of resources that we had. And, of course, as we just approach landing here, we're going through a series of lasts. Yesterday, for example, the shuttle's robotic arm that we had used for 30 years to deploy and retrieve satellites, and we had some fantastic statistics read up to us. The last time we put it away, it's hard to believe we'll ever use it again. But I'm going to pass the mic around a little bit. I'm sure somebody else has something I'd like to share.
Sure, and it's been an interesting training flow because, as our commander said, there are a number of lasts, and they started out small, the last specific sim on a certain system, and then they got bigger and bigger until we saw the last rollout of the space shuttle to the pad. And it started getting real, and every once in a while it kind of hits you. And the same thing's happened during the mission. We've gone through a number of different milestones, and as you get the bigger ones and bigger ones behind you, then you kind of have a chance to pause a little bit more as the pressure is off, and you can think, wow, this is the last time we're doing that. And for me, it kind of hits me when I'm sitting down the mid-deck sometimes at the end of the day while we eat, and you finally have a chance just for a couple of minutes to grab a bite to eat and think. I think of the past crews that have sat down here and shared a meal and think about, wow, this is the last time. And then also think about the future of Atlantis. We're not going to just retire. We're going to share with others in the Kennedy Space Center, so other people will be able to get a chance to get up close and see what a beautiful vehicle it is.
Pilot Doug Hurley, I realize she's a very delicate craft. She is incredibly intricate to a degree that many of us can't comprehend. But ultimately, what's it like to fly her?
Well, it's just it's a dream come true, actually. It flies much better than our simulators show that she should fly, and it's just been an absolute pleasure to get to fly yesterday for me, to get to do the fly around, and then some of the rendezvous burns that we did, and we're really looking forward to bringing her home tomorrow. But it's been just a dream to get to do this.
Doug, what's it going to be like to land the space shuttle for the very last time?
Yeah, Doug passed it off to me because, the pilot is the pilot that left-seater lands, and Doug would do an absolute fantastic job at answering that question. But I've had one opportunity to land before. It was extraordinarily exciting. but probably the one word I could say is it works just like the simulator. We have an in-flight simulator that we use and practice with, and I'm absolutely astounded at how closely the Space Shuttle replicates the in-flight simulator. So we're going to have, I believe, a pre-dawn landing tomorrow. If we land on time, day or night, we're ready to come home anytime.
Chris Ferguson, commander of the final mission of the 30-year Space Shuttle history, I want to ask you, what do you see as the future of the American space program?
Well, we were discussing this just the other day. It may seem like a sort of an ending, and I suppose to a degree it is. The Space Shuttle's been with us. It's been the heart and the soul of the human spaceflight program for about 30 years, and it's a little sad to see it go away. But we have to understand these systems to operate and maintain are extraordinarily costly, and in order to go beyond, because of course the shuttle can only stay in low Earth orbit. In order to go beyond low Earth orbit again, we're going to have to pause, and we're going to have to stand down, and we're going to have to channel some of those resources that we used to fund and operate the Space Shuttle so we can build another vehicle. And we're going to go beyond again someday. Hopefully it's in the not too far distant future. And we'll turn over this low Earth orbit business, this space station servicing business to commercial companies. But hopefully in the not too distant future, you're going to see a heavy lift vehicle manufactured and by our commercial partners, designed by NASA in partnership. And we're going to go back to the moon, back to Mars. So the future is very bright. But at the moment, it's a little somber because we are saying goodbye to an old friend.
Good morning to all of you. This is a real treat for all of us here at CBS News this morning.
Hey, good morning to you, CBS. It's always a treat for us to be able to share just a little piece of the excitement of spaceflight with you.
Commander Ferguson, let me ask you this first question. This is a historic final journey home. How has this mission been? How bittersweet is it to know that you're coming home on the shuttle for the very final time?
Well, I'll tell you, we have had just an event-filled and packed mission, and what I had kind of told everybody all along was that we were not going to fully appreciate the significance of the event until after the wheels had stopped. And just yesterday in the mid-deck, I was talking to Sandy about the fact that, you know what, I really do feel like it's coming near the end, and I can almost sense that final wheel stop call. And it's going to be tough. It's going to be an emotional moment for a lot of people who have dedicated their lives to the shuttle program for 30 years. But we're going to try to keep it upbeat. We're going to try to keep it light. We're going to try to make it a celebration of of the tremendous crowning achievements that have occurred over the last 30 years, with the tremendous satellites that have been deployed from the shuttle, and of course the construction of the International Space Station.
Exactly, the future of the space program right now. I know everyone knows that the shuttle program is coming to an end after 30 years. There is no vehicle that is ready to go right now. Where is the future of the space program for the United States at this point?
Well, the future is bright. We're in a kind of a transition period, which is a little bit uncomfortable as usual. But what we're going to be doing is handing over the access to low Earth orbit, getting to the space station, to and from, to commercial providers who are going to build rockets that will get us to and from the space station. That'll free up NASA to do the heavy lifting of the beyond low Earth orbit flights, to go to places we haven't been for a long time or ever, like the moon, an asteroid, or maybe Mars. So it's a kind of a two-pronged effort. And while we get to this transition part, it'll be hard, but we'll get there, and we'll be going farther and farther and going to new places real soon.
Yeah, how's it been to just have 4 of you there? I know normally the missions usually have more astronauts on board, but it's just been 4 of you. Have you had a chance to really bond up there during this historic final journey?
Oh, I think definitely, we've had to just work so closely together and be so well coordinated, because your typical shuttle mission, there's 6 or 7 folks, so you tend to be working more with another person, and there's been a lot of times where we've just had to depend on the other person to cover a separate task. I personally I don't think I fully appreciated how much more work we would have to do with only 4 by 6 or 7. So it's been a little bit of an eye-opener, because we really have been just stretching it, working very hard every day.
Sandy, if I could just pose this last question to you, what's your message to all those people, the thousands of people over the years that have been such an instrumental part of the shuttle program as you now say goodbye to this program after 30 years?
Well, you know, really the heart and soul of the space program is the people that work in the space program. It's a group of people unlike any other field, I guess, because everyone's so passionate and so dedicated. They work so hard, they take it to heart. And it's true of all the people that I've met in the United States who work in various aspects of the space program. It's also true of the people who I've met in other countries through my work with the International Space Station. I mean, there is a huge number of people worldwide who passionately believe in spaceflight and who dedicate their lives to it. And it's because of these people that the shuttle program was so successful for the last 30 years, and we were able to do the amazing things that we were able to do. And it's because of these people that the International Space Station has been so successful and will continue to be successful. And this same group of people will carry forward their momentum and eventually get us out of low Earth orbit to these other destinations that Rex was talking about earlier.
And before we say goodbye, Sandy, just one final question to you. Has anyone been giving you a hard time, the crew, maybe through emails or any messages from Mission Control about your space hair, what zero gravity has done to your hair?
Well, you know, usually for events like this, I like to leave it out because it illustrates that we are indeed in zero gravity. I mean, these guys have kind of boring hair, so it's not so fun. But they do give me trouble occasionally about the Medusa-like effect of it.
Well, it's an interesting look, that's for sure. Hey, we wish you all the very, very best, and we thank you so much for taking the time and talking with us. This has been a treat for all of us here, and we're so proud of you, and we wish you a safe return to planet Earth. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
Please stand by for a voice check from CNN.
30 years ago, the first space shuttle launched into space. This year, the shuttle era ends. Let's take a look at the world's first reusable space vehicle. The space shuttle system has got three main parts. The orbiter, that one there, holds the crew and payload. The huge orange external tank holds fuel, and the two solid rocket boosters, those things on the side, provide most of the shuttle's lift during the first 2 minutes of flight. Now, all of the components are usable. They're reusable, except the big orange tank. It burns up in the atmosphere after each launch. Now, fully loaded, the shuttle system weighs about 4.5 million pounds. For those of you who are counting, that's about 300 elephants. Columbia, Challenger, Discovery, Atlantis, and Endeavour have taken 130 flights in total into the final frontier. They carried more than 350 people into space. The shuttles have traveled more than 500 million miles, more than enough to get to the planet Jupiter.
2, 1, 0, and liftoff, the final liftoff of Atlantis. On the shoulders of the space shuttle, America will continue the dream.
That was that stirring moment on July 8th at the Kennedy Space Center. The final shuttle mission that took off that day is wrapping up now. It began on July 8th with that incredible launch of the space shuttle Atlantis. There you see it heading toward the clouds, just about to go through. It was a cloudy day. There were some questions as to whether it was going to take off, but it did. An historic takeoff that was watched by over 1 million people in person, never mind those watching it on TV. Commander Chris Ferguson, pilot Doug Hurley, mission specialists Rex Walheim and Sandy Magnus have begun, well, they've been in space ever since that day. They're still there. There they are. Right now, the shuttle is flying above the Atlantic Ocean. Those astronauts join us live from space where they're prepping for tomorrow morning's landing, 24 hours from now. Thanks to all of you so much for joining us. This is the last time the shuttle astronauts will ever be interviewed live on CNN. Let's start with Chris Ferguson, the commander. Chris, this is the last space shuttle mission. When you think of all that's been done in space and all that is being planned from here on, it almost feels like you are going to be a veteran of the golden age of space travel.
Well, first off, hello, Allie. It's great to speak with you here, and welcome aboard the flight deck of the Space Shuttle Atlantis on her final day in space. You know, I wouldn't say this is the end of the golden age. It's certainly the end of perhaps a very specific age where just a select few can go into space. I think that what we're going to see in the next few years is a very broadening horizon, an opportunity for people who have never had an opportunity to go into space to at least get to low Earth orbit. And what we'll do is we'll turn over the reins of that business to our commercial partners, and that'll enable NASA to take the resources we put into the shuttle and hopefully go beyond low Earth orbit again in the not-too-distant future.
Sandy Magnus, mission specialist, you enjoy, among other things that you do in space, you enjoy cooking. You've been known to cook up some special treats. I know you made Christmas cookies once, and you made salsa for the Super Bowl. You got anything planned for the final meal up in space?
I don't have anything planned, but I may end up surprising the guys. You know, the problem with the shuttle missions are they're so busy, and this one has been incredibly busy. I haven't had time to do much space cooking, but I did give some tips to the space station guys, so if they had some time, they could try a few of my recipes.
Chris Ferguson, we're going to be watching you very closely. One of the cities I spend my time in and live in is Philadelphia. You're a local from that area. What do you got to say to the folks down on Earth who are going to be watching you bring that thing in beautifully tomorrow morning?
Well, you know, I guess what I said to the folks when they left Mission Control, one of our orbit ships, we spoke to them for the last time from orbit yesterday, and I said to them as they walked out of the room to look up and make a memory, and I'll say that to everybody who has an opportunity to perhaps see the landing real time or see the shuttle on the runway, is take a good look at it and make a memory, because you're never going to see anything like this again. It's been an incredible ride.
Rex, how are you feeling about this? You guys are going to land. I mean, normally there's a sort of a camaraderie. There's a club of people who have flown on the space shuttle. That sort of club closes tomorrow. What's your feeling about this final landing?
Well, I think it is historic in that nature, but I think it's going to open up a new era of spaceflight, because right now there have been a tremendous amount of people who've flown in space in the shuttle, the vast majority that have ever flown in space. But we want to take that next step, get access to Earth orbit, low Earth orbit cheaper and more frequent, and we can do that by partnering with our commercial partners, and then that can allow NASA to really focus on the exploration, going beyond low Earth orbit, going to the harder destinations, asteroid, the moon, or Mars, and I think it's going to be an extremely enjoyable, extremely exciting time for NASA. It's just we have to get through this transition. Transitions are always hard, but we'll get through it, and we'll even have a brighter tomorrow.
The whole world's going to be watching when you all land tomorrow as you approach for the final time the landing of the Space Shuttle Atlantis. Good luck to all of you. Godspeed. Have a safe next 24 hours. Rex Walheim, Mission Specialist. Sandy Magnus, Mission Specialist. Chris Ferguson, the commander, and Doug Hurley, the pilot. Thanks to all of you, and we look forward to watching this. Of course, CNN will cover it live tomorrow morning.
Atlantis, this is Fox News. How do you hear me?
Hey, welcome aboard Atlantis Flight Deck. We have you loud and clear.
To Pilot Hurley, you were driving at the time. What was that separation like, knowing it was the last time?
It was just unbelievably breathtaking as we backed away from the ISS yesterday. You know, they plan it such that we get out to about 600 feet as the sun rises behind us, so it lights up the arrays first and then lights up the rest of the space station. It was just beautiful, and we really enjoyed, you know, one last lap around the International Space Station before we started heading home.
The shuttle commander, Chris Ferguson. Now, what do you think about the United States relying on the Russians for at least 5 years to get back in space with manned spaceflight?
Well, you know, first off, let me say that the Russians have been just incredible partners with us in space. You know, you recall the Columbia tragedy back in 2003. If it weren't for our partners there, we would have had to deman the space station, which is certainly something we didn't want to do. So they're great, reliable partners. Now, should we be dependent upon them? I don't think it's necessarily a case of us or them. I really think that we need a redundant way. We need two different ways to get people to low Earth orbit. And, you know, it's there's certainly a gap here, and I have no particular issue with relying on partners because that's what partners are for, to help you through perhaps a time where you need to pull back and regroup. So, it's a short hiatus, but I'm very confident in our commercial partners. We've seen SpaceX already launch an orbital vehicle and recover it safely in the Pacific Ocean, and there are other commercial partners that are not too far behind. So it'll be a few years. I'm a little uneasy with just a single string to orbit, if you would. In other words, just one way to do it. But we'll recover from this, and we'll use the resources that were devoted to the shuttle program to do it.
Atlantis, this is NBC News Washington. Do you copy?
Hello, NBC. We have you loud and clear on the flight deck of the Space Shuttle Atlantis.
This is Tom Costello. Commander Ferguson, let me ask you first. On that day back in Houston, you said to me that when you pull away from the space station, that's when this is really going to hit you. It's really going to resonate. Your thoughts on having pulled away now from the space station for the last time, you're on the last day of the last mission for the shuttle. Your thoughts on what all of this means for you and for America?
Tom, it's funny. We were discussing this just a little bit earlier with Sandy down in the middeck, and I looked at her and I said, "Gosh, Sandy, it feels like it's really about to end." And for certainly our 9-month training flow and the first hectic 12 days of our mission, we didn't think we would ever see the end. But now we're beginning to, I guess, see the light at the end of the tunnel, if you can call it a light. But I'll tell you, when you pull away from the space station, it just makes you enormously proud that not just our country, but the global community can pull together the resources enough to construct that incredible vehicle in orbit. So as the space shuttle does retire, and we hate to see it go, we know that it's leaving an incredible lasting legacy, and of that we're just extraordinarily proud. And the space shuttle program should be extraordinarily proud of what it's left behind.
Rex, let me ask you, through the miracle of technology, I'm talking to you from a hotel room in Orlando where I'm preparing for your landing. And some of that, it occurs to me, the incredible technology as a result of what space has brought to America, the technological capability for communication, whatever. Can you reflect back on what has the shuttle program done for America in terms of advancements, in terms of technology and medicine and science and what have you?
Well, for number one, the first thing it is a reusable spacecraft. You hadn't seen that before, and there's really nothing like it. And it was going to be a long time before you get something that is so complex, so capable, and yet reusable. And then it gave us access to the low Earth orbit on a somewhat routine basis, and it allowed us to build the International Space Station. As far as medical breakthroughs, that's where the real money is going to be earned, so to speak, is on the International Space Station. We've now completed the International Space Station, so now we can enter an era of utilization where we do that groundbreaking research, where we can help find out how to make medicines target cancer better, how to understand how the human body reacts to long times in space, and also how to make an environmental system last for more than 6 months so we can take those long journeys to go out to the moon or to Mars. And so it's the space shuttle's enabled all that, and it's done an absolutely magnificent job.
And Doug Hurley, when we were on the ground in Houston, you talked specifically about how you wanted to pay tribute to all the hundreds of thousands of people who over the last 30 years have contributed to this program. And given you the ability to be where you are right now. So as you prepare to return to the Kennedy Space Center, your thoughts on all of those people, and specifically the people on the ground now who are preparing for your landing and many of whom may be out of a job within the next few weeks.
Yeah, we really, we really just want to honor them, and we've done our best up to this time in the mission to do that. And yeah, we're very excited about seeing those folks, especially the Kennedy folks, hopefully tomorrow morning, and just try to share the memories of the mission with them, and once again just convey how proud we are of them and what they've done over this 30-year program. It's just so inspiring to see the passion that all these folks have for space business. And, they put their careers into this business, into this vehicle. And, we owe it to them to just honor what they've done and honor their accomplishments. And, we were just lucky enough to be the ones that got to fly it. But, they're the ones that really made it happen.
tell you what, we'll wrap it up there. It's been an honor to talk to you. We wish you tremendous success on your return visit. We'll be on the ground waiting for you. Godspeed and safe return. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Tom.
Atlantis, this is Houston ACR. On behalf of the Audio Control Room, the NASA Television Production Team, and the JSC Public Affairs Office, it's been an honor to serve with you over the years and on this last mission of the Space Shuttle program. Thank you. That concludes the event.
Hey, ACR, before you go, I'll tell you what, whenever we hear your voice, we know we're in space, and it makes us smile. Thanks so much for helping us bring the word to everybody in America about what we're doing up here, and we look forward to hearing your voice aboard the International Space Station, and wherever we go beyond the Space Shuttle, we hope you're there.
And Fergie, it's time for us to bid you good night. I think I speak for everyone in the room when I say we all feel very privileged to have been a part of the 135 team with you. Also, speaking for everyone really in the Space Shuttle program, that we're so proud of how you've represented us really to the whole world on this final shuttle mission. Your professionalism and excellence have been really the best kind of tribute to the Space Shuttle and the many people who are part of its history. So we'll bid you good night, safe travels, and we'll see you back in Houston for the celebration.
Well, Megan, thank you. That was really very kind of you. Hey, 42 years ago today, Neil Armstrong walked on the moon. And I consider myself fortunate that I was there to actually remember the event. I think that there's probably a lot of folks in that room who didn't have that privilege or honor. And I can only hope that that day will come for them someday. It's kind of interesting to be here on the final night of a shuttle mission. Don't quite know what to think. We're just trying to take it all in. I saw a quote that I thought was really good and is very appropriate on this, the 42nd anniversary of the United States' presence on the moon, and that's that I pray that our nation will someday find the courage to accept the risk and challenges to finish the work that we started. I bid a farewell to the Orbit 2 team. I don't think we're supposed to see you tomorrow. I hope you don't. And let's just plan on this being our final shift. And when you go out the door, like I said to Orbit 1, take a look back at the mission control room and make a memory. Good night from Atlantis.